All right, welcome everyone to our One Piece chapters of the year ranking. I'm joined by Kev DOG and King Recon should be joining here pretty shortly. I think he's still getting home or whatever, but he will be getting here pretty soon. And the beauty of today is that we are also going to be raising money for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. So every super chat or whatever that you donate will go straight to them. I think you can see at the bottom there's a little donate thing. Kev here has had a holiday stream a couple years in a row and had quite a time raising money for Children's Hospital of Philadelphia last time. So I took that inspiration from him, and King Recon also had a stream where he had the community rank One Piece arcs, and so I kind of merged those two ideas, and that's why I also invited him. And so the community voted for these One Piece chapter rankings, so we're going to be showing everyone what you guys voted on, and of course we're going to give our thoughts on where we ranked them, whether you guys maybe ranked them too high or too low, or maybe we're the ones who were crazy. We'll figure it out. But Kev,
Dak,
thank you for joining.
Thank you so much. But more importantly, our guy, Double O Flevins, already with the $200 donation to Make-A-Wish. That's incredible. That's incredible right there. Double O Flevins was an absolute legend helping the kids at CHOP, and now he's helping once again. And I want to, of course, say much appreciation to you inviting me on to talk about the chapters of the year. It's been a great year for One Piece. And moments like this, they're a great time for the community to get together to think positively about the future and help people in need. So appreciate you for having me on.
Absolutely.
My guy.
Yeah, and like you said, major shout out to Double O Flevins for that donation to get us started. I really appreciate it, man. I set the goal for 2,500 because I was inspired by Kev's stream because that's what he set it at, and he hit it. So if we don't hit it, that's totally fine. I'm just happy to raise some money for Make-A-Wish. We've had an awesome year of One Piece this year in 2024, and we have probably a good year ahead of us as well. So it's nice to kind of take a look back at how everything that happened this year and use that opportunity to also raise money for those who need it. So it's going to be a great stream. And I will tell you guys that I've taken a look at the rankings already, and I've looked at Kev's rankings and King Recon's, and there are some discrepancies. So there's going to be some hot takes this stream, I guarantee it. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and get into this pretty shortly. Like I said, King Recon will be getting here pretty soon, I imagine. He said I think he gets off work or whatever at 8, so he should be here kind of soon. But thank you all for being here. And also, shout out Cymex. Am I saying that right? I know you're in the Discord all the time, too. Cymex or C-Mex? Probably Cymex. Welcome to the Afro Gang. I appreciate you. Thank you very much for becoming a member. Make sure you keep your eye out for... Well, I don't know if you live in the U.S. or Canada, but I do those TCG giveaways. So if you do, definitely keep an eye out for those posts so you can get in on those. We just did one the other day.
You might get a manga rare.
Well, that's what
manga rare Buggy the Clown.
That's what I was going to say. I got it right here. I got it right here. Major shout out to all the members. We did pull our first manga rare on stream, and it was Buggy the Goat. So
Buggy the Goat.
Yeah, so that's awesome. I know Kev's a big Buggy guy, so...
I am. That's Captain Buggy right there.
Yeah, it is. Buggy. Indeed.
Just letting you know, if a chapter has Buggy in it, it's ranking high. It's ranking high. It's really that simple.
Was there any? I mean, well, we had.
There was one that was very important for the Buggy stocks.
Okay.
Very important.
Yeah, because I know last year we had 1082, which was
that was
ultimate...
the chapter of the year. That was the chapter of the year.
That was the ultimate Buggy
chapter. The chapter of One Piece ever. Yeah. That might be the chapter.
For sure. Yeah, that was a... and I mean, I like Buggy, but not like love him, not as much as you. But, I mean, that was a hell of a chapter. Also, major shout out to Roland V-Dub donating the $20 to Make-A-Wish. Appreciate you, Roland V-Dub. Longtime supporter of the channel. My man. Thank you.
Yep. And just think about it like this. Like, we're only... 5 minutes into the stream and we've already raised over $200 for all these people in need. Think about how crazy that is. And if the goal, 2,500, we're already almost 10% of the way there. It could take 50 minutes to get that goal at this rate.
Yeah. And we haven't even ranked a single chapter yet. So we are going to get it in just a second, but I just quickly wanted to mention, after we get through these rankings, I'm also going to do a bingo card with you guys. So Kev's going to get a couple spots. King Recon's going to get a couple spots. You guys are going to get a couple spots. We're going to have you guys shout things out. We'll do some polls to get you guys on the bingo board. And I'm hoping to make this a tradition where we do it every year and rank the chapters of the year. And also, go over the bingo card, because we were going to do it together. So every year we can kind of, review it. And also, major shout out 3 Day Trip for donating the $20. Major goat in the One Piece community. Appreciate you, 3 Day. Thank you very much. That is awesome.
Absolutely legendary right there. Absolutely legendary.
Yeah, for sure. 3 Day is a certified legend. But all right, guys. So we're going to go ahead and get into these rankings now because we might be here for a little while. So the sooner we get into it, the better. And like I mentioned, you guys voted for these. I set up a poll a couple weeks ago, or a week ago, right after 1134 came out. We had almost 100 responses, which is actually a lot for a poll this big. And I was also looking at like the distribution of who voted. I can't see your guys' like individual information, but I could see like where you guys are at country wise. And we had a really big split across like all the different countries. So people all over the world voted for this, which is really cool. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm super excited. Also, major shout out Terrible TJ with the $20 donation to Make-A-Wish. TJ, long time goat of the community, and also Anonymous. I appreciate you, whoever you are. Thank you very much for donating to Make-A-Wish.
Think about how crazy this is, right? On this poll, for those who haven't seen the poll, there are 32 chapters, and we're almost at 32 times 10.
True. Yeah, almost 320, almost 10x the chapters, but I mean we haven't even ranked a single one also, so that's just that's amazing. But let's go ahead and get started with the rankings, and I will
look at that.
We're already
over. We're already over.
My guy, we took us right past the 320 mark. Before you know it, we'll be at the 420 mark, which we're definitely fans of.
Just that GIF of Brooke is just gonna be
exactly
like on the screen somewhere.
100%, exactly. Everybody knows that GIF too.
Everyone knows.
But all right, so we're gonna go ahead and rank some of these chapters now, and I'm gonna go ahead and start off by just getting a couple out of the way right away because I actually ranked these ones the same exact as you guys, and the chapters are kind of bunched together. So, very last place for the year, we have 1129. If I can find the image. And so for me, this was an automatic last place because this was the Roto chapter, and I'm an anti-Roto guy. When Roto was on the cross, I was not upset. That's all I'll say.
No, I was happy.
Yep.
I was happy he was on the cross.
That was a highlight of Elbaf for me. So anything with Roto, he's in the mud. And then at 31, we have 1127, which was here, I gotta organize that. That is like the beginning of Elbaf, where like Nami wakes up in the castle, and then they fight the bear, and then the cat, and then the monster trio comes in. Not a whole lot happened. We didn't really know what was going on, right? Like that was like very early Elbaf. And then right after that, we have 1128. So you guys can see here that it doesn't seem like people were feeling early Elbaf very much. And I agree. I had these ranked the same way. Kev, I don't know how you had these ranked, I will say. Where did you end up putting these?
So on it's like in the 3/4 kind of region. It's like they're cool. I put it in like the 20s, like mid 20s. I thought they were cool. I enjoyed the mystery. I like seeing that was the aspect of it I really enjoyed. The mystery of just being a completely new location. Like, is Elbaf actually like this? Is Elbaf is this one of the realms of Elbaf? That was a huge theory a lot of people were thinking at the time. Which obviously that could have been possible,
Mm-hmm.
But I think it being like a scale model was really cool, and it was like foreshadowing a little because obviously Elbaf has a lot of Norse, Norwegian connections, and Lego is a product of like that area of the world. So I thought that was really cool as well. Like I said, it's enjoyable. Not like my favorite thing though, by any means, but I really enjoyed the pre-time skip vibes of this section.
Yeah, no, I get that because you have the East Blue crew kind of separated out, right? So those first few chapters, was our kind of example of that, and then also, we also had that like the other half of the crew on the giant ship, and that's where the Vivi message came in. So like the way Oda kind of split that up was kind of cool. And like Kush Daddy said, let me find the chat out. Oh, it's not that I wasn't feeling early Elbaf, it's that everything that happened this year was that much better. I agree with that too.
I agree.
Now Roto, I'll go back to that. Now that's just a net negative for me. Roto, compared to anything, that was bad for me. But I do agree when you have the end of Egghead, and we're going to be talking about all that in a minute, but all that craziness, it is kind of hard to to compare. So I get that. And I will say, King Recon, I know he's not here yet, but I did get his ranking, so I know where he placed everything. And he had these 12th, 10th, and 11th. So he had these very highly ranked compared to all of us pretty much. So whenever he gets here, I'm very interested on his thoughts, because that's one of the biggest deviations of the whole day, I think, is him ranking them those high. But like you said, I imagine that's the East Blue factor. Because that's anyone who's been a One Piece fan for a long time knows the East Blue crew, is something special. So
most definitely.
Cymex, you said the Lego Elbaf chapters weren't even at the bottom for me. That's interesting, because these like on the rankings I can also see how highly weighted they were, and these were like super far in the bottom, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, I think it does go to show, like, that's just how good Egghead was. And, like, now that we're in the Elbaf that was promised, obviously, it is different than we expect, but, like, the literal vibes that we kind of expect, I think people are getting more into it now that we're finally on the location. But it was enjoyable. Like, don't get me wrong. It wasn't bad. It was just not as good. It's really that simple.
And I think a really good chapter to bring up in regards to that is the next one in the ranking, which is chapter 1132, which is another Elbaf chapter. So clearly, and again, I think it's just compared to everything, it's hard to compare these to Egghead. But 1132, that was like the first chapter where I was like super excited to see what the rest of Elbaf looked like. Like, not that I wasn't pumped before, but we were like, is this a hallucination? Like, where are we? But 1132 was our first like real glimpse of everything going on, right? That's where we had the Rainbow Bridge, I believe. And then we see the Sun Realm. We see we have the Louis Arnault Explorer quote at the end, which that is probably the biggest reason why I had this ranked a decent chunk above. I had it ranked 23rd, and King Recon had it 17th, so we're pretty close. Louis Arnault earned a big boost for me. But where'd you have it, Kev? Because I don't have this ranking for you either.
Oh, so this is a very interesting placement.
Okay.
So you're telling me that this was 29th on the poll, you're saying?
This was 29th.
Well, I had this number 1. I thought this was the chapter of the year. I was like, holy crap. I don't know if you saw me on camera. I was like, what?
Kev, like, Cook, if this is your number 1, take the stage. Right. Step on your soapbox. So, also, shout out Anonymous for the $20 donation. I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
And you know what that means? With Anonymous's donation. Oh, never mind. We already were above the 32 times 10. But, guys, I even see my guy... Sadman in the chat, 1132 is higher, TBH. It is. Being an Usopp fan is a lifestyle. It is a part of you. And seeing that shot of Usopp and Luffy both seeing Elbaf for the first time, genuinely life-changing. Like, that was a moment in One Piece I don't think I will ever forget. Like, I just stayed on that panel for like 5 minutes minimum. I was like, I don't even want to continue this chapter right now. I just want to live in this moment. And then there's a bunch of other stuff outside of it. I love the rainbow aspect. It was so magical. Like, that felt like something that it's so One Piece, just having this idea that, because Luffy now being the sun god, it makes you kind of think about every sort of possible light-based, naturally occurring thing in a different way, And I feel like rainbows, which have had this connection with the Straw Hats forever, with each of them having like this color kind of associated with them, it makes it so good that they're able to have that connection with it.
And also, I gotta say, our guy King Recon just pulled up. King Recon, coach, you there? I can. It says you're on mobile, so I don't know if you can. I don't know if you have the audio set up, but I do see you. So King Recon, whenever you're ready.
How do you send
just hop in? Can't wait for King Recon to join and talk about his rankings for 1128, 1127, 29. But yeah, Kev, I know exactly what you're saying, and I honestly I probably should have had this ranked higher, because that the one panel like you're talking about where Usopp is kind of crying and Luffy's looking over in wonder, and above it has like that old panel of them like excited about Elbaf, and the perspective is that they're looking at the Sun Realm, which is great. But King Recon, Coach, we heard you. You there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh yeah, we can hear you.
My Coach, brothers, it's good.
My guy, good. Coach, welcome, my friend. How you doing, my man?
That is good. Doing great, bro. It's. I'm so happy to be here with the good brothers to discuss a legendary year in our beloved series, yo.
Absolutely legendary.
And we're still getting in the early parts of this King Recon, but like you said, it was a legendary year, and most of that definitely was the Egghead stuff. That's like some game breaking. So we got as you guys can expect, a lot of the big Egghead stuff is bunched towards the higher ranks here. But but Coach, I did want to ask you a question. Why did you have chapters 11, 29, 27, and 28 ranked as highly as you did? Because those were the lowest 3 on the community poll, and you had those 10, 11, and 12. So I'm just curious. Those are the early Elbaf chapters.
So I love the rereadable sections in the series. That's why I love DB Backfight so much. It's why I love Whiskey Peak. It's why I love Drum Island. Like any of those, Jaya is another one. Like the little mini arcs that just showcase great character moments between our beloved cast is just something that I always appreciate and enjoy. But for those in particular, it just been so long since we had adventure piece chapters like that involved those characters. So the fact that we had an entire chapter dedicated to Nami and Usopp shenanigans, as like the Straw Hats or the rest of the Straw Hats were not there until the end of the chapter, where we got like Luffy and Zoro and them, and then the added mystery of trying to figure out where exactly we were, and it just felt so classic One Piece, but not like in the way that we're normally used to saying that, right? And like, oh, it's the comedic stuff and it's the adventure in New Island. Like this one genuinely felt like Oda went back in time and wrote these 3 chapters. Like you could tell he had these in the chamber for a while, and I think I just appreciated the rereadable nature of them, where I've gone back and reread that section multiple times just because it feels like its own little arc before Elbaf started. And I really appreciated those 3 chapters. So that's why I ranked them as high as I did.
Whenever we were talking earlier, I kind of theorized. I was like, the longtime One Piece fans probably like those chapters more than others because of what you just said. Like if people who got into it recently may not have the longing for the East Blue as much because they're closer to it, right? Whenever you watch the series, it's not that long since you were in the East Blue time wise, right? But for us who've been in it for years, it's like, man, it's been a decade since I experienced East Blue for the first time.
Exactly.
Right? So bringing that back, I totally get that. I did have them ranked the lowest, but I get exactly what you're saying. For me, the Roto thing automatically put him at the bottom. But
Roto.
Yeah, we're not Roto fans around here. That's for sure.
I understand.
Yeah. Also, shout out Will Talabian for the $5 super chat donating to Make-A-Wish. I appreciate you. King Recon, we are at $355 for Make-A-Wish already. So
sweet.
Oh yeah, major shout out to the chat for sure. All right, so our next chapter ranking, which Coach, you and I ranked this chapter the same, as did the community. We all had it ranked the exact same spot, and that is chapter 1126, if I can find it. Oh, there we go. Now it's organized. So 1126. Let's see. We didn't have it ranked the same as the community, but you and I had it ranked the same. Sorry, I got that mixed up. So you and I had it ranked the same at 13. So we had this a lot higher. That's what I meant to say. My bad.
Yeah.
The Excel sheet is confusing me. But yeah. So for this chapter, I was a little surprised that it was this low. I don't want to misquote, but I was watching Randy's stream about chapters of the year, and I think he had this number 1. If somebody wants to correct me, let me know.
Amazing pick.
Yeah.
Amazing pick.
Yeah, great pick.
Yeah, and I was telling him, I was like, Randy, like, what do you think about you? I don't think he ever answered because he was ending the stream, but I was like, I wonder what he would think about people having it ranked this low. But for me, it's, I don't know, like, for one thing, the start of a new adventure is always really fun, right? Whenever you end with like the Nami thing, but I honestly liked everything else that was in the chapter because for those who have been following One Piece for a while, you know, like the in-between arc chapters where you're setting up things around the world, always peak. Always. And this chapter is where we, well, for one thing, we had this little cute moment with Kuma and Bonnie, you know, being together, so that's good. We had Shanks and Barto in this chapter, which I love that moment for Barto standing up for Luffy and everything, right?
Greatness.
And then Yasopp, you know, doing his thing. But also Blackbeard, getting back to Hachinosu. We're seeing Garp there. We get the Lafitte update. Caribou pulls up, right? And then we end with Nami. Like, that's just a packed chapter, you know? Like, that is
so good.
Beefy. So, Kev, where did you have it ranked? Because I didn't get your ranking for that one either.
So I had it pretty similar to you guys. I had that at number 10. I thought that was an amazing chapter.
Yes, sir.
I distinctively remember, it was a few days later. I was on vacation with some friends, and I called Dak in the middle of the night, and I was like, Dak, we gotta talk about this chapter, man. It's so good.
Was that the same discussion as the mac and cheese?
It was.
Oh,
that's
awesome.
It was the same discussion.
I remember.
And it was just a phenomenal chapter. There was so much about just the mystery of it, the grandiose moments, like Bartolomeo almost, well, obviously, you know, One Piece, no one dies. But Bartolomeo being willing to sacrifice everything for Luffy and like take it all on the line. Yasopp being a demon. Yasopp being a demon. And of course, you know, just the mystery of Nami, like what's going on. It was so great. Absolutely amazing chapter.
And my
way to kick it off Elbaf.
And my favorite moment of the entire thing is after the Barto thing happens and Shanks is like, isn't it hard not to smile? He's so dedicated to Luffy. Like that. It's like for Shanks to get that kind of confirmation, like, oh, the world is backing my guy. You know what I mean? Like, I made that bet, and look all the people that are supporting my boy. Like that.
Exactly.
Oh, dude, that's some crazy stuff. And we'll talk more about Shanks a little bit later as well. Once we get to another chapter a little bit here.
It'll definitely be high.
Yeah, well, maybe not among the community, but among us, I think it's decent. So the next one, which I also had ranked, actually, so this one is the one that was lined up. Okay, that's what I was looking at. So the next one is chapter 1123. Okay. So if I can get this organized, well, whatever. There we go. So you guys had this ranked 27th. I had this ranked 27th, and King Recon had this ranked 27th. Now, the only one I don't know is Kev. Kev, where did you have this ranked?
I put it at 24.
Oh,
similar
so
kind
close.
Of range. Similar kind of range, but yeah, it was enjoyable. It was enjoyable, but you know, I feel like after so much peak, this peak isn't as high as the other peak.
Exactly how I feel.
Yeah,
especially because I think we can all agree the two previous chapters to this one are definitively some of the best of the arc.
I would argue some of the best in the series for me. Like,
they
are legendary.
For sure.
We have those chapters. All of us, or us three, we have those two chapters top 5. And so we're definitely going to be talking about those, but I agree about this chapter because it was also kind of like oh shit, I'm on the wrong chapter, but it was kind of like after all that craziness, and then to kind of get the backdrop of it all, where I can't even access the page for some reason, but I believe that's the chapter. I'm trying to pull it up where we get like Vegapunk, like how he erased his memory and stuff like that, right?
That is the chapter.
And so that's like good and necessary info. But for me, I'm kind of like, okay, we just saw the aftermath of that decision. So getting the backdrop of the decision now doesn't really move me the same. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
If we had seen that and then later we're like, wait, like where's this gonna go? Then that's like a totally different thing. But getting the backdrop after, I think, is takes away from it a little bit. So
agreed.
To me, it was kind of, I don't know if I say necessarily it takes away from it, but it took us out of the moment. I think that's more kind of the, because it was cool. It was definitely cool to see him be like, because we have this whole expectation, like he is literally the smartest man in the world. So seeing just like, it reminded me a lot of like Death Note with like Light making this whole plan and then scheming and like, this is how it's going to work. I think that literally did happen in Death Note, but I'm not gonna go super in depth because that's unnecessary. But you get what I'm saying, yeah.
Yep. And I will say the one really hype moment about this chapter that I still love looking at, even though it's not like a crazy moment, is whenever they're leaving the island, Luffy shouts to the Iron Giant, "Thanks for everything." Like that.
Yes.
That I don't know.
Awesome.
To me, that and then you see the ship leaving. And it says we're off to Elbaf. Like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. That sequence is really good to me. I love the Luffy Iron Giant connection. I think was good no matter what.
100%.
All right, next we're gonna get into the next one, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think, do I go one more in this row? I don't know. I'll figure it out. Chapter 1131, which
yes,
another early Elbaf chapter. I had this ranked 21st, and Recon, you had this ranked 30th. So we're all kind of in the same ballpark. But why so low for you, King Recon? That's almost your last one.
I think, similar to what we were just saying, it's surrounded by so much greatness for me that it just had to take this spot. Bangs Robin obviously is the reason.
Yep.
So I was gonna put this dead last, but then I went back and I reread the chapter and I was like, nah, I can't put Bangs Robin in last place. You know what I'm saying? That's not happening. So but it's just, it was a fun chapter. Obviously 1130 was so strong, and 1132 is also really strong. And so looking at the one that's in between those two, for me at least, even though I enjoyed it, it was another like adventure piece chapter. Obviously, you have like the Loki and Shanks stuff, and with Luffy about to take Loki's head off just for mentioning his name, and it was a fun interaction. But besides that, in the grand scheme of the Elbaf chapters so far, I feel like it was the least interesting for me. Although the implications for what was to come with the Robin stuff, and maybe what will happen here with like the Loki and Shanks stuff that'll happen later on in the arc, it might elevate this chapter later on. But for right now, it was a solid, fun chapter that gave me Bangs Robin back. So I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, you can't complain with Bangs Robin, especially after the Saul reunion too. Like like Oda intertwining those, right? It's like, oh well, if Robin's gonna meet Saul, let's have her, look like like so Saul recognizes her. Not that he wouldn't anyway, but that's
exactly.
It's just kind of like, I guess that's the idea a little bit, but but yeah, no, I feel you. It's kind of like meeting Loki originally hit me harder than sitting there talking to him a little bit. Like, not that the stuff wasn't interesting, but it's kind of like we don't even know what the promise they made is yet, right? Where it's like they made an agreement. So this is like a setup chapter where maybe in a year or two we're going to come back and be like, you know what, this one actually carried way more weight than
100%.
But
100%.
But right now it doesn't really. So and yeah, Brandon King, this was the Life Alert chapter, but as we learned, that was
the Life Alert chapter.
But as we learned, it was fake news.
That's right. That's right.
So that does take away when there's fake news. That definitely takes away a little bit. All right, so the next one, and I think I go to the next tier here. I might be out of order.
Just to confirm, what spot did you guys have it at? You said 27.
I had it 21, and King Recon had it 30. So where'd you have it, Kev?
Yeah, I had it at 25.
Okay, so you're right in the middle.
We
were a sandwich on that one.
Yep, I like that.
I definitely agree the impact of Loki was significantly more interesting. This was still really cool, though.
For sure. No, it was still a cool chapter.
I still think Loki, this did a lot of cool setup for us to really like Loki.
Right.
Yes.
Instead of just looking raw, And
I
think that's
agreed.
100%. Well, Kev, I'm actually going to have you keep cooking here for a second, because the next chapter that we need to rank is chapter 1134. And I have this ranked. No. I have this ranked very close to the community. They have it ranked 25 here, and I have it 20. But Kev, you have it ranked 32nd, and King Recon, you have it ranked 7th. So I want to hear. Yeah, you guys got to talk this out.
All right. Let's be blunt here. There's a lot of agenda behind this chapter. There's a whole lot of theories.
Not wrong at all.
There's a whole lot. Now, here's the thing. If you buy into this, this is a peak chapter. If you don't, 100%. This is not it. And for me, like, if I see my guy Vegapunk walking around, or if I see Kuma walking around, I'm going to be like, what was the point? So that was a major thing. And honestly, the Shank stuff doesn't even bother me nearly as much as the Vegapunk and Kuma stuff, but still, that also bothers me. So this is why I have it low. But outside of those three things, really great world building, like really great. I really enjoyed seeing Elbaf more. Ripley's really cool. I like Anja's design. Anja's cool. I really like the beginning part with Saul talking to Luffy about being a Yonko. That was awesome. That was really awesome.
Yeah, that's really cool because of the Robin support, right? It's like, oh, Robin found some good friends, like that kind of angle. I did like that.
Yeah, but just those three, like the way I describe this chapter, it's like a roller coaster. Like, wow, I'm really liking it, and then it just, oh no, oh no, oh no.
So, Coach.
Yep.
You got to rank number 7.
Yeah. This chapter contains like 2 of my favorite pages of this year. First and foremost, obviously the intrigue with Loki and who he was referring to with like the Shaggy comment. There, I think that's going to be really interesting. Similar to what we're talking about with 1131. I think we're going to look back on this conversation here and be like, man, this is what Oda was setting up back then as like a really fun potential thing for characterization, both for Loki and who the Shaggy character is. One thing before I get into the Shank stab stuff is that I really appreciated the fact that this chapter took one of the main reasons why I rated it as high as it was is that this chapter gave me a lot of potential possibilities for what I can look forward to from a thematic standpoint in this arc. So whenever they started introducing the fact that earlier on in the chapter with Ripley and the other kids, that the generational difference between the previous generation and the new generation and how they look at things really reminded me of like how the current sports world is, where you look at what regardless of the sport you think of, whether it's football, soccer, basketball, there's this generational divide of individuals who believe the old generation was better versus the people who think the new generation is better. And I've been thinking a lot about how something like that could be explored within a manga like this. And so I think it's really cool how One Piece is going to be exploring that in a world of giants, where we're looking at it from the lens of Luffy and Usopp, who are seeing like a Dory and Brogy who they love and respect so much, and that culture they love and respect so much. For them to get to the land and see that culture has shifted into this brand new mindset, and seeing how Oda's going to play around with that, to me, presents just as many exciting possibilities as even the Shank stabs and the Shaggy stuff and Loki stuff, because that's going to present something brand new we've never seen in One Piece before, while also having like a different spin on the Wano Odin stuff. So I that's something that like really stood out to me. Obviously, right there with you with like the Kuma and Vegapunk stuff. I guess that remains to be seen. It's a part of the weekly experience at this point. You know, I remember I remember when the chapter dropped and we thought Odin came back to life. We were like, what the Flagnar is going on? And then so it's a lot of those types of things where it's just like you got to let them go until you see the payoff for it. So I'm not even going to think about that. But I'm right there with you in regards to how silly that is. But the end of the chapter is really like the main highlight for me, because obviously I'm a massive Shank star. Everybody knows this. And the possibility and the hype behind the Stabs character, or like this twin theory or the clone theory, is so fascinating to me that when we actually saw the character show up at the end of the chapter, I was in disbelief. I was like, okay, so not only did Oda give us this hint in 1122 with the final panel of showcasing like who's going to be going after the One Piece and who's going to be in this final race, we saw this other character that we all were like, oh, that's the Shank's brother, or whoever it is, Stabs. And we're like, okay, so that's really hype. But for them to show up on Elbaf, it reminded me of whenever the Gorosei showed up. Obviously not to the same level, because we've known the Gorosei for much longer. But it reminded me of when the Gorosei showed up, where I was like, oh my god, like this is the final saga. Oda's no longer waiting years to pay off this stuff. Like we're getting it now, and so it automatically presented a brand new antagonist that can be like, oh man, this is gonna completely change how I believe the arc was gonna go. And so even outside of the Shanks bias, I feel like the Holy Knights being here is just it elevates Elbaf even more than I already thought it was gonna be. So obviously, I'm a huge Zelda fan, so this final part reminds me of like Aryan Twilight Princess. It's like the ruins in Ocarina of Time or something. It just looks so cool, while at the same time having Shanks showing up with Old Girl or Stabs showing up with Old Girl, and it's just so much intrigue. This chapter is filled with amazing possibilities for the future of Elbaf, and I think that's why I rated it as high as I did, because it's living up to what I wanted Elbaf to be, which is theory piece, hype piece, and adventure piece, and I got that all in this chapter.
That's a really good explanation, especially the kind of like cultural shift going on, right?
Yeah.
Because that's something that I was actually talking about even before the arc started, because of Saul, right? Remember when Saul met Robin, and he's like, "Don't compare me to those savages from Elbaf," right? Yeah, right. He acted like he was like more sophisticated, and now you see him on Elbaf being like a history teacher, right? Like he's like helping that movement in a way, which I think is really powerful, especially because he was involved in that scene here, right? Like he started the chapter, so like Oda brought him in while we're learning about this kind of like this shift. And you know, Coach, I like the example you were given. You were comparing to the sports world. It's kind of like it's kind of like everyone's learning to shoot threes now in Elbaf. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
they used to just go hard in the paint all the time and just dunk, but they've discovered they looked at the analytics, right? And they're like, wow, 3-pointers are worth more, you know? And so and so now they've started shooting it, and now you're starting to see where the old heads are coming in like, hey, like we need to, you know, I don't know about all these 3-pointers and all that stuff, you know, like it's kind of like they're having that debate like we are. If anyone who's a basketball fan, which by the way, I'm going to be watching the Cavs and Warriors later tonight. Go Cavs.
Yes, sir.
But you know, best team in the league. But you know, it's just funny, like even like in the world, like in sports, in a lot of ways, you know, we're kind of in that like cultural development kind of thing, and so just to get that like as like a microcosm in Elbaf, I feel like is really powerful. So. So I agree. Kev, you got anything?
And One Piece is really cool to me because a lot of the story is about the generation gap and about how time changes. You know, we literally, you know, one of the best ranked chapters, without a doubt, is called the Ebb and Flow of Time. And I think Elbaf, especially with characters that are able to live so long, they're gonna literally see the world change around them. Like I can't even imagine, like, you know. Shout outs to like those old giants, you know what I mean? Like if somehow there's a moment where, like, for example, Hyrule, right? Hyrule literally saw Big Mom as a child, and then Big Mom become a Yonko, and then Big Mom lose her status as Yonko. Hyrule literally saw the rise and fall of Big Mom. And think about this, Hyrule's not even that old. There are people significantly older than him, probably.
Jarl.
That's true.
Jarl, like, imagine if Jarl just dropped some crazy, like, oh yeah, I remember, like, when Roger first popped up. Like, that would be crazy.
No.
It's like when Brooke in Thriller Bark was like, oh yeah, Roger, that old
new guy.
Yeah.
That new guy.
Yeah. You know, Kev, we've talked about this. My number one Elbaf agenda, which I need to make a short on this, and it's going to be on the bingo card later. It was on your bingo card, Kev. My number one, I don't care what else happens this arc, I need to learn that Jarl met Noland in person. That's my number one, because he's old enough. Awesome. He's barely old enough to have been around when Noland was alive. I need it. Like that potential to me is just. I mean, I'm definitely in the upper echelon of Nolan fans, and I'll die on that hill. So if I hear the name Nolan this arc,
me too.
That'll be a top 5 chapter of the year, automatic.
Skype be a goat, baby.
Not of all time. Not of all time, man.
It depends. The Nolan chapters are up
if NL shows up in the same chapter, top 5 all time.
Oh my god! Imagine.
I can't believe you just put that in the ether. If NL comes back. And in that same chapter, we see Jarl talking about Nolan. And then if Jarl, here's what I really want. I want Jarl to like talk to Usopp and be like, "You remind me of this guy that I met 400 years ago." That like,
that would be.
I'll be bouncing off the walls.
It'll be something associated with. Here's what I'm thinking, right? Obviously, you know, Usopp. There's a lot of associations with him, with plants. Same with Nolan. Right? He's a botanist, right? Now, one of my big agendas, right? But it's not just plants Nolan's associated with, it's specifically trees, because he was on the trees, and what do you know it, Elbaf is on a tree.
Oh, and
that's true.
Maybe Usopp did something to help the tree in some way. We also know Usopp's associated with Pinocchio, who is made from a tree, you know, and he loves You see what I'm saying? You gotta
that's
with the tree idea.
That's a great idea.
Something important.
I'm all about tree piece. So
me too.
The tree of knowledge, whale tree. I'm all about. I mean, I love whales. You combine literally the tree and the whale in the same thing, and then not only that, you put a road poneglyph inside. Like, I'm game for that. So you know, and if you look at those, like the tree of knowledge and the whale tree, they were hollow. They had stuff inside them, right? Like very important poneglyphs inside them, both of them. So I'm wondering if the Adam tree's hollow, and we're gonna go inside and and find something.
You like the tree of knowledge, but on crack. There'll be so much more.
Yeah, for real.
Yep, because the tree of knowledge was also like 5,000 years old, and this might be like the only tree possible that would be older than that, right? So yeah, it crazy stuff. Chapter 1134 was a crazy way to end the year on officially. And I know 1135 the scans have come out, and actually it came out on Manga Plus very temporarily in French on accident. And they took it down, but this was a crazy way to end the year officially on, right? Like Oda even mentioned this at Jump Festa. It's just like, he knew what he was doing. He knows how to market his story. So but all right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one, which is chapter. Oh wait, I gotta pull up the right page. Chapter.
Is this for spot 24?
This is spot 24, and it is chapter 1124, which is which is Kizaru stands on business. I think is like one of the big things of that chapter. I'm gonna pull it up just so I can look at it a little bit more. Also Morgan's talking to Vivi, and like
that's great.
And they're kind of debating. I think this is probably the discussion that led to the X on the paper, I would imagine, because like he's kind of talking about what story they're gonna make or whatever. And then also we see Sentomaru rowing away, which I do have I have a little bit of a gripe with that. Not that it's just. I don't know. Nobody dies in One Piece. Nobody dies.
Genuinely, like, no shade to the Sentomaru fans out there, but it would have been pretty awesome if he died. Like, think about it like this: the ultimate defense dies. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm.
I mean, I would have liked it if anyone died.
Well,
I mean.
Well.
I mean, it's kind of, it's debatable, because even in chapter 1124, that's the chapter where they're like Luffy's sad that the Vegapunk died, and they're like, wait, nope, we're all alive. You know what I mean? So
the only one who needed to die died. That's all.
That's true.
It's the chapter that also gave us.
True.
We pray that he is dead. If he is somehow not dead after that, that's crazy. Like
this chapter also gave us the biggest amount of fake news. Emperor Straw Hat Luffy murders Vegapunk before it cuts over to Borsalino. And that's going to be all over the paper. We still haven't seen the repercussions of that and how the world reacts to such a thing, which is pretty interesting.
But I will say that Kizaru panel, Kizaru has always been my favorite admiral since the day I saw him riding in on a cannonball, and and to see him, shout back to Akainu like that, and just be like, "Hey," it's kind of like, "Hey, man, I'm a human. Like, I'm not a robot. I can't. You sent me here to do enough, man. Like, I'm good.
Yeah.
You think I'm slacking off? That's literally what he asked. Like that. That's powerful to me. So major
phenomenal.
Kizaru. Yeah.
Agreed.
And we all had that ranked pretty closely. I did 18th, Kev 17th, Recon 26. So we're all kind of in the same range. So that's good.
For which one?
1124. At least I don't know if you moved yours slightly.
Actually, I checked with the listing because I realized some of them I had like double in the same number. That's at number 20 though. Similar kind of show.
Yep.
Nice.
All in the same range. However, this next chapter is a little bit different. The next chapter, all the way down at 23, is chapter 1130, which is the introduction.
Oh my god, that hurts my heart.
Mr. Loki.
That hurts my heart. That really does.
But it maybe this will heal your heart a little bit, King Recon. While it's ranked 24th or 23rd on the poll, I had it 7th, Kev had it 5th, and you had it 3rd. So
yes,
there we go.
So I am shocked by the discrepancy here. So chat, I'm curious why you guys might have this ranked low. If any of you guys did rank it low in the poll, but for me this was like I don't know how to describe it, but like just a super heavy One Piece chapter in the sense of like,
Agreed.
like that aura from the Loki panel. I'm like, all right, the story's changing. You know, like okay, this is too monumental to not be a story changing event. You know, and I think a lot of us were waiting to see what Loki looked like, and as Oda has done many times, the silhouette looks nothing like him. Right, the silhouette we had is nothing close, and I'm happy because Loki looks badass to me. Like, this is one of my favorite designs. Absolutely killed it. The lore behind him, which we also learned this chapter, and to see that he's the sun god. Like, to me, this is like one of those One Piece chapters where I get chills. Like, whenever I scroll like down to the page and I see him, I'm like, oh my god. Like, what? And Luffy being so small in front of him, right? Like being in the foreground, and then seeing how big the chains are next to him to give the scale. Like, to me, this is just, you know, chef's kiss.
Agreed.
And I think one of the things I really liked about this chapter was it wasn't just the Loki thing. There were so many other things about it too. Like Vivi's message. That was crazy. Like that to me was a big ringer of like, oh my god, Vivi is finally going to be back with the Straw Hats.
Yes.
Like there's no way, to me, there's no way that Vivi doesn't show up by the end of this arc. There's no chance. Because where will she show up then? The final war? She's trying to war place. Is it going to be Laugh Tale? No. Why would she go to Laugh Tale? They don't know where Laugh Tale is. Like, there's so many things where it's just like that. And then Dorian Broggie getting bounties that are 1.8 billion.
Billion, bro. Come on.
Inflation.
That was
inflation.
But did you guys? I saw somebody like do the calculation for like 100 years and like use like I think like the yen inflation or whatever, and it was actually accurate. Like
that's cool.
Like 100 years from their past bounty with the actual real life inflation rate. I'm pretty sure.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Which
shout
out Oda.
And it's not just Loki. Seeing Elbaf first.
I was just about to say that.
Insane. Like,
yeah, dude. On a personal note, that's the main reason why I rank it so high. I ranked 909 the year that came out. I believe that was 2018. I ranked it as high as I did, and that was the year with the Reverie chapters, right? So we had like a lot of really incredible content. The end of Whole Cake Island was that year as well. So that had a lot of competition, but I ranked 909 as high as I did, which I believe was in the top 5, because it was my first time seeing Wano, the thing I'd been wanting to see for so many years. And with Elbaf, it's that again, where it's like, dude, this thing we've been building towards for such a long period of time, and I'm seeing it with my own 2 eyes. And then not only am I seeing it with my own 2 eyes, then Oda combines it with one of his best assets, which is character introductions. And he immediately follows it up with us finally seeing Loki. And you know, they're talking about him throughout the course of the chapter, but for us to see him there at the end, and it surpasses the legend, it surpasses everything that we predicted that he would be in that one moment. It's like, oh man, this is so classic One Piece, while at the same time feeling so fresh and new. And the double page spreads, like you said, Dak, made it feel like it had so much aura and emotional weight. And it's just, this was a chapter that I'll never forget reading, just the same way it was for 909 with the first chapter of Wano, where it's like, I'll never forget where I was when I first saw the island I'd been waiting so long to see. Same thing's gonna happen in Laugh Tale. Of course, the weight is gonna be much different when we actually see Laugh Tale, because that's the final island. But it's gonna carry that same amount of weight. It's like, man, we've been waiting for this for so many years, and to actually see it with our own 2 eyes and for it to be executed in this way. And I ranked 11, 27, 28, and 29 as high as I did, because it was a mini arc, or it felt like a mini arc that was really, really well done. This was the payoff to that mini arc, actually seeing where it would lead off to. So it was kind of the knock-up stream chapter that's a transition between Jaya and Skypiea. And so I just really love this chapter. And when it gets animated, I hope that they get the individuals on it that will make it give it the adaptation it properly deserves, because man, what an incredible chapter.
Get Megumi Ishitani on just to do the Loki introduction part, you know? like if she's too busy, just like, come on, just do this, please. Like that needs justice. Kev?
And I'm just looking over it real quick again, like, oh, even that whippersnapper of ours, Hirudin, is under your umbrella. That Ramjunctious is the King's own kid. Like, they didn't need to drop that.
True.
Crazy stuff. It's just what? And then the fact is, like, not only is it the King's son, it's Loki's brother. It's just like, what?
Yeah. Yep.
There are just so many
good,
major
man.
in the chapter. Frankie looking raw. As
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Frankie looks
like,
great.
oh my god.
That's a good point. I forgot to point that out. Frankie looks great, man.
And I will also say, oh, sorry, just real quick, just the fact that like we were introduced to like a snow area first. I don't know about you guys, but like snowy islands or winter islands are probably my favorite in all of One Piece. And so just like, and I'd obviously, you know, Elbaf has multiple, you know, climates at this point, but to like be, you know, in the realm of the dead, which is a snowy place, and we know in One Piece that the underworld is cold because of Brook's powers and stuff. I'm just like Oda, I know you're drip feeding some lore, some underworld stuff. This is like some emu stuff probably. Like there's a reason why Loki's introduction is almost identical to Orz's, you know? It's
right.
Chained up, cold place, horns, you know, like the whole thing, giant, you know, the whole like
very intentional.
Yes. And not to mention, and I was actually talking to Always Sunny in Ennie's Lobby about this earlier, but also like the Lola stuff. Like this wasn't in this chapter, but just to throw it in there. You know, like with that Loki Oars connection, I mean, remember, Lola was in Thriller Bark and actually helped Luffy defeat Oars because the Nightmare Luffy, that was all because of Lola. And Lola turned down Loki at the wedding, right? And so it's like, okay, so Lola is like intercepting Oars and Loki here. Like, where's that going? So there's just so much. And I can't wait till we see Lola get involved in this arc. I don't know if she's going to show up, but I need to know why she turned him down, minimum. You know, so
yeah, for sure.
Especially now that we know what he looks like, it's like Lola, why'd you like?
Yeah, for real.
Like, what's up? You know, I mean, he seems like kind of like a badass. You know, I mean, compared to Absalom, you know, I mean, shoot.
Yo, for real.
I mean,
Absalom.
Have big tongue. Maybe she's not into the big tongues. I think that
might. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
might not be your type.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if she liked a creep like Absalom, who's like a stitched together, you know, human lion guy, you would think she'd be open to Loki, but who knows? You know, I can't wait to figure that out. But all right, our next chapter is 1120, and this yes, they had this ranked 22nd. Yep, I got in the right place. And so Kev, you and I had this 14th. Maybe you moved it a little bit after you adjusted it, but and Recon, you had this 16th.
I also have it 16th. Yeah, that's
nice.
That's crazy.
Nice.
And you know, for me, I think the big thing for me that makes it carry a lot of weight, regardless of the other stuff, because there's a lot of combat and stuff. But Mr. Clover, you know that.
Yeah, greatness.
Automatic, massive points for a chapter. Also, we got his name right, Cleome D. Clover or whatever.
Yes,
and him like just yelling to Vegapunk, like it's just. I don't know, like getting a little bit of a glimpse into Clover's desperation, right? Like what he went through to like uncover this, and then obviously we know, you know, he met his traumatic end also, and how that led to Robin. Like just getting a little bit of backdrop here, and him yelling like, "Tell me, how am I meant to accept a world where you can die just for having the wrong name?" And Vegapunk just stunned over there, like that.
Yep.
Like that to me, Clover is one of the like peak One Piece characters for me. Just like
I love it.
Like in terms of like impact per panel, right? I always think about it that way. Like who changed my view of the story or my feeling of it or just my own emotions with barely being on panel, right? Like who's done that? And Clover is maybe number one in that regard. Nolan's also up there, but yeah. This is also where like Emeth and Luffy talk a little bit.
Yes.
So that's also
fantastic scene.
Yep.
Amazing. Atlas, the Atlas stuff in this chapter is the major highlight for me. That one genuinely hit because you know, it connects back to the beginning of the arc. First character you meet, or not the first, but one of the first characters that you meet in the island, and for all of it to connect back to that, it's sort of like a thank you for the journey type of chapter where you get to see how much of an influence the Straw Hats have had on the character, to where Atlas did that. Right, because of having met the Straw Hats, and I just thought it was a really cool, emotional weight-esque chapter that really shows you the impact that not only Luffy can have, but of course the rest of the characters can have on someone to be able to do a sacrifice like that. It was beautiful stuff.
And I do want to throw in that moment, I love the way it happened because Atlas is like jumping over towards Nashjuro. And Nosturo's like, so you mean to make a grand sacrifice of yourself? And then Atlas smiles and is like, nah, I'm just lending a hand. And then blows up and like so smiling in the face of death, as we've seen throughout the story so many times.
Exactly.
That like I'm like, Atlas, like you get it, you know, like you already got socked in the face by Lucci and had to get a new face, but you charged right back in, you know. And also speaking of charging in, the Boar Boys both donated $20 each. My guy John Sherrod and Double O Flevens, the Boar Boys.
That's amazing.
2024 year of the Boar is almost over. You know, they spelled it BOAR. I spelled it BORE. You know, because we don't like Topman around here. But
What is it,
but major shout out for the donations, guys. Seriously, I appreciate you.
Let's see what it next year. The Snake. Oh, I don't know. You know who's heavily associated with snakes? Loki. Year of Loki. 2025.
Year of Loki, baby.
Oh, hey man.
Be awesome. No, but
2025 year of the swine.
Oh my god. No, but in all seriousness, no. I do feel like this chapter was pretty incredible. I do feel kind of crazy that like we all liked it a lot, but it is really low. Just not even because the chapter's bad, because other chapters are just
exactly
good, you know what I mean? Like
this is a victim of the other chapters being good for sure.
Yes.
Like I think that genuinely, if this chapter was in another year, it would probably be top 10 or 5. I think that this was that good. Like for example, like besides just knowing Clover's name, Clover being a D, awesome.
big.
That was
reveal.
awesome. Yep. His quote, amazing. You know, further connecting the O'Hara stuff, and not to be that guy. As someone with a lot of Irish family members, it was almost kind of gratifying in a way to see an Irish character. In a story that's somewhat like realistic. You're not just like cringe. Sorry if that sounds lame, but anyway, Atlas, one of the best characters in Egghead. Having her grand send off, you know, my favorite Vegapunk. All the people bought the Chakra train. I didn't feel that. Atlas was always the GOAT. From the beginning with that raw quote that Atlas said about what is reality and what does it mean to be real. I was like, you're the GOAT. There's no Vegapunk gonna match up to you. And I also love just the fun, cutesy design with the anger issues.
For sure.
I'm a big fan of that trope. So I was just always in with Atlas. Then Emeth talking. Amazing.
Peak. Always peak. Being all every word.
And then this like desperate attempt of Saturn trying to jump and kill the Bonnie and Kuma. I was gonna say Connie and Buma, but Kuma and Bonnie, and they look so distraught. And then Saturn turning into like this obviously is the chapter after this, but eventually turning into like Swiss cheese. And then to end it all up in Vegapunk's speech. The fact that the world now knows it's Gol D. Roger. I feel like that was one of the most underrated things this year.
Agreed.
Because I remember so many people being like, why is that a big deal? And I'm like, bro, just because we know it does not mean
the characters.
Everyone knows it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like that was a heavily underrated aspect of this chapter. Like seeing the people from Impel Down say, did he say Gol D? Like, and they were disbelief. That was awesome. And especially because it's a perfect way to bookend this with Clover having to hide his name for being a member of the Will of D. And then the reveal that the Pirate King, the most free man on Earth, is a member of the Will of D, while a prisoner is about it. I felt like that was really powerful. So yeah, amazing chapter.
And I also want to mention, like Vegapunk reflecting on Clover's sacrifices after O'Hara happened, right? Because we see him talk to Clover, and then it skips 4 years in the future after O'Hara happens, and then you see Vegapunk kind of like walking around because he's talking to Caesar, but he's kind of just thinking to himself like about Clover the whole time, and he like looks at Robin's poster, is like, oh, it looks like some brat survived, and then he like looks at the water with all the books in it, and he's thinking like, you must have had a chance to escape, Clover. You chose death. Was passing on your research that important? You fools. Did you really expect someone to be curious enough to follow in your footsteps after this? It's like he doesn't understand how important it is to share that history yet, right? Like, as smart as Vegapunk is, this is what led him to eventually research the Void Century, which led to his own death, right? So this is us getting that flashback where he's like Clover, like, you must, like, whatever you're looking up has to be super important if you're going to sacrifice yourself. And so that's what led Vegapunk to eventually do it. And for him to, like, see the Robin poster, it's just, I loved it. The connectivity of it all, fire. I think this great chapter. Like you said, it would, or Kev, I think this would have been like a top 10 in a normal year, but
for sure,
this isn't a normal year. So, phenomenal chapter. So the next one.
I forgot. I did forget something. I did forget it. It's right after that moment you just mentioned. This little passage here. History is written by the victors, and the words of the vanquished are usually cast into a deep, dark. That being said, their truth could still come to light if the oppressed carry it on their backs and endure. I feel like that was an insanely powerful quote, and I know in the anime that's gonna get really hard because of this thing in the middle with possibly Tequila Wolf. But now that we know there's other slave versions, which was one of the I think that's one of the most, again, underrated crazy reveals of the year.
I agree.
That's not in this chapter though, but regardless,
that got swept under the rug somehow, you know, like I feel like there was not enough discussion on that line.
That line was phenomenal, and just a great way to show, again, the themes of One Piece about the ripple effect of the past. Generation stuff.
For sure. Yeah, this was honestly, the more we talk about it, I maybe should have had it.
I was telling the same thing back. I was like, man, it should have went
higher. Guys, let's just bump it up.
Yeah. Like, I had it at 14. I feel like top 10 at least, now that we've broken all this down. Like, that's just... and honestly... Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, it's like I want to put it in the top 10 or put it higher, but then I look at my list and I'm like, I don't know, man. It was too good.
I got to move this one down if I'm gonna do that. So I exactly. Get that. And one other thing, I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but just to point it out again, whenever Vegapunk's like crying about Clover's death, and he's like, "Did you really expect someone to be curious enough to follow in your footsteps after this?" It's like, yes, you did, Vegapunk. You know, like that. It's just that. I don't know, man. Like that's just so powerful. Yeah, this should be top 10. I didn't think about that one enough. That needs to be higher for sure. But the next one, I hope the Boar Boys are still here because I picked this image just for them. Is chapter 1120 or 1119? Sorry, 1119. So this one's called Emeth, and so we start with like Stussy and Kaku talking, then we get the combined attack that sends Mars out of there for good, right? The booming Don balloon, the Bonnie combo, right?
So good.
Yep, love that because that actually sent Mars back for good, right? Like whenever we get to the rope hockey part in a little bit, actually, well, a lot later, I'll give a hint about that. A lot later, we'll get to that one, but But it was cool whenever the Gorosei went back from that moment and Mars is just sitting there like, yep, I'm already back, you know, like that. But also in 1119, something that I think is highly underrated is we saw Gaimon, which it immediately boosts it sky high.
One of my favorite parts of the year. Seeing Gaimon again.
Yep.
My guy.
We saw Gaimon. We saw Laboon twice during these speeches. Like, oh man, it was a big year. But
I think
we also ended with Emeth knocking off Topman's tusk, which is the highlight, clearly.
We'd love to see it.
Yep.
I think something I really love about this chapter is the Kaku and Stussy stuff. Obviously, CP9 was such an integral part of this arc, and they're such interesting characters. And I think maybe it's because I did a rewatch of Water 7 and his lobby this year. But this particular segment hit me extremely hard, just knowing where those characters came from to see where they are now, of course, with the cover story and seeing the journey that those characters went on, and just Stussy, what a brilliant character. But I love this one for Kaku as well, and obviously we get to see the payoff for that later on. But it was some really, really powerful stuff. And then the Luffy and Bonnie stuff. Anything with Luffy and Bonnie hits me extremely hard in this arc, but in particular, whenever you see them do a combined attack together, and the fact that it was comedic, that there was joy there, and I love that. What a great chapter. It was great stuff.
Yep. Yeah, this was a really good one. And, you know, where did I have this ranked? Let's see. I had this 9th. I had this very high, which I think I may have given it a boost for the ending.
Gaimon tax.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely the Gaimon tax, and it's the Topman injury tax. Those really boosted. But yeah, I had it 9th. Kev, you had it 19th, and Recon 22nd. So you guys were very close, and I probably would have put it there if it wasn't the Gaimon tax.
I've noticed what happened. So a lot of mine moved down to So I had it at 21, so
Okay.
even more similar to Recon.
Got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, solid chapter, and yeah, honestly, looking back on it, I'm still thinking about 1120. That one should have been way higher.
That one might have to move up.
I know.
Yep.
That's such
Because
a
I'm
peak
looking, I'm
chapter.
like, because so on my list for context, I had it at 16, and I'm seeing 1107 right above it, but I'm like, oh, 1107 was pretty awesome. Though.
You feel me?
Yeah.
It's like, oh
like,
no.
It's a tough list, bro. It's a tough list.
Yeah, and I do
Too much
want
greatness
guys,
happens.
major shout out. We have a major shout out to Dilcor with the 20 Canadian dollars,
Oh,
which
my
puts
guy.
us over $400.
Yes, sir.
Let's
Let's go.
Major
Yeah.
shout out, Dilcor, editor of the channel. My guy came in big time last weekend, helping me with that last video. But yeah, if y'all are wondering why the videos look so good, it's because of him. So major shout out, Dilcor, sliding in. I appreciate you,
Dilcor.
man. And Dilcor, you got a video coming soon, by the way. I believe it's been a minute. Dilcor's got a 1.6 million view video, which is
Nice.
insane. And I'm ready for the
Pretty
next
awesome.
one, man. Yeah. JJ, you said I'm rude. What is it because of Topman? Is it because of Topman, JJ? We got I think we got another. Oh, this is actually the reverse. So the next, did I already put the next chapter on? No, I didn't. So the next chapter is 1117. And at the end of this chapter, that's where Topman flips over Emeth.
That's right.
So now we flipped it from 1119. So the Topman fans might like this one. But what else happens in this chapter? So they figure out that. Go ahead.
Oh, my bad. I was going to say the major highlight for me from this chapter was I'd been I've said this in my streams, but I have literally dreamt of the Straw Hats pulling up on the Holy Land before, because I'm just so excited for the possibilities. Like the Straw Hats versus Godosei stuff. I've always been so just so enamored by those possibilities, even before we knew they were fighters. So in this chapter, we got Zoro clashing with Noshiro.
Yep.
That hit me in a very that hit my 13-year-old self. You know what I'm saying? Where I was like, oh my god, this is like so hype for its peak for like all ages of myself that always wanted to see this. Always wanted to see the Godosei clashing with the Straw Hats, but in particular, seeing Zoro and Noshiro there, like it was one of those we're in the final saga moments. You know what I'm saying? Like this, it's that type of stuff that I look forward to back when I first caught up to the series and being like, what are we going to see in the end game? One of those end game things is, Zoro clashing with like Godosei and Luffy taking on Blackbeard or whatever. And then this was one of those things for me, and I was like, oh man, he actually did it. It was a beautiful chapter. Obviously, that wasn't the only thing that happened, but that was my major highlight from it, because I was like, man, I can't believe that happened. It was short, it was sweet.
Yep.
It was what it needed to be, and it was just hype, man.
Yeah, I thought it was a really solid chapter, and I think the thing that I really liked is the end. Oh, well, I guess I want to say about the Noshiro thing. We also had like the Katetsu thing, right? They're like a Katetsu blade. Like we pretty much had a confirmation that they both have cursed blades, right? Like Zoro has the Sandai and Noshiro has the Shodai Katetsu. So to me, that carries a lot of weight, because I feel like that's like maybe one of the oldest theories that I remember ever hearing, is that he has the Shodai Katetsu because he has the same hilt and whatever. And just to get that confirmation for me, kind of like you said, like your 13-year-old self. Like I didn't start watching One Piece till I was like 22 or 21 maybe. But like that goes back to like my early One Piece self for sure, to get that confirmation. And then at the end, we also get the Mo moment, right, where like he gets cut off. And for me, I really like that moment, because I think that gives like crazy theory potential. I'm still of the mind that he was going to talk about like a traitor within the Will of D, or like a D member that's not a true D or something like that. That's still where I'm at, but there's so much potential, Yeah, I love that moment.
I think there's a lot of great stuff in this chapter too. I'm just looking through it again. I distinctly remember the moment with the traitor, and we see like Dragon, Kobe, Blackbeard. Seeing Blackbeard especially is like, whoa, what's
where you at?
On, guy?
That was big.
And then obviously the Noshiro stuff was amazing. I completely agree with what Recon said. Just the hype of that moment was just so sick. My personal favorite moment, not a big moment from this chapter, but I loved how a lot of the messaging was about the dangers of like the ocean rising and stuff.
Yeah.
And then somehow, even with this horribly ominous message, Cricket is like,
yes,
another diving expedition. That was
Yes.
awesome.
That was
like,
awesome.
I
Yeah.
love this.
Yeah.
And of course, seeing my guy Diaz alive, you know,
Yes, sir.
of course.
Smoker
Yeah,
too, bro.
Smoker with
Last
the-
time we
with the-
saw Smoker was like 10 years ago.
With the supply crate,
Sure.
right? We still don't know what
Yeah,
that supply
Yes, sir.
crate is.
I'm still on
sir.
the theory. Law is in the box. That is my theory.
I love that.
If that
That's
happens,
a great theory, dude.
that's big time.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
still on that. I think Law is in that box because I just do. I'm just so sold on this.
Let's get it. I'm down.
And think about it. If Law's in that box and Smoker's heading to that hospital with Sword, you could say Law is in Sword. You know, shout out to
Yes,
Randy.
sir.
He was in the
Mhm.
chat.
Shout out Randy.
Oh yeah.
And of course, you know, after one of my favorite supernovas died, it's nice to know both of them did die.
Mhm.
At least, fingers crossed, Hawkins is dead because he had a good death.
Please.
So that'd be cool. That would be cool.
I mean,
Mhm.
I'm not betting any money on it one way or the other. I'll say that much. But
Yeah.
but I hope so.
Yeah.
All right. So the next chapter is the one right before that, which is chapter 1116. Get that organized. So,
Oh wait, where did you guys have that chapter?
Oh,
placed?
1117.
I
I had
don't remember.
I had it 12th, which again I feel like that's a little bit high. Well, there's probably some funny tax in there why I ranked it high, but Kev, you had it 23rd, and Recon, you had it 23rd. So Kev, you might have it like 25th
Okay.
now with the adjustment.
Right now it's 26th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys had it pretty low, and I mean, honestly, I kind of agree, but there's a couple other small things in here that I like. So I'm a big bluegrass hater. I've been since day one. I just don't like her fruit, but she changed my mind in this chapter because she's like, talk about sloppy. You're all meant to be paragons of justice, remember? Because this is where all the vice admirals finally do something. And she's like, don't settle for being another face in the crowd. Step up and be a star. And then finally the vice admirals do something. And I'm like, all right.
That was a great line.
Yeah, like, all right, I like it. You know what, Bluegrass? You're the only one who seems to care, you know? So major shout out.
That was a very GARP coded line for a
sure.
character we care about. You
For
know?
sure.
And that's a good.
Yeah, oh, she has the most personality now of any vice admiral that was there. Maybe Dahl will probably end up being like the most important one.
Yeah, definitely.
But of all the ones that were there, Bluegrass definitely like stood above just because of that line for me. So
Yeah.
But next
Emu.
oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Because it's going to be on what you're about to talk about.
I was about to go into the next chapter, so
Oh, okay. Wait, so are we still in 1116?
that's what I'm about to talk about. I just finished up
Oh, okay,
1117. Now we're on 1116.
I gotcha.
Yeah, so 1116 is the next one. FYI, I had this 15th. Kev, you had this 11th, and King Recon, you had this 24th. So kind of all in the middle, but a little bit different. For me, Laboon was in this chapter, so it's immediately above average. I don't care what else happened. It can literally just be a picture of Laboon, and that's the whole chapter, and I'd be good. But this is also where like Vegapunk just finished talking about how the ancient weapons sunk the world in the Void Century. So we have the world reacting to that, like, whoa, what? Like an 800-year-old war still going on? Like there's that whole reaction, and we see Emu looking at the Lily poster and freaking out.
Highlight for me.
Yeah, we see it looks like Cobra's funeral, I'm presuming, because they're like in the crypt where we actually saw them there, like when Robin, had Cobra bring him down there. They're in the same part of the crypt. We get like Edison and Stussy talking, and is that Elizabello?
It is, yeah.
Oh my
Elizabello,
God! Wow,
Ogami.
I forgot he was in here. So we see Elizabello, which that's just crazy.
Well, there's one character we see that you're not mentioning, and I can't believe you're not mentioning.
Who is it?
It's Moda the Milkmaid.
Oh, of course.
Moda the
How could I
Milkmaid
forget,
is
Kev? I'm sorry.
So
I was waiting for you.
She has to be high up, It's like it's essential actually that she's high up there. So of course I put this chapter very high for her in specific, but outside of it, the awesome reveals of an ancient war were pretty cool as well to a lot of people.
Yeah. It's crazy that Laboon was in this chapter and you put it higher than I did because of Moda. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know what that says.
Yeah,
I mean, I got another Laboon chapter to rank.
I don't have a Moda plushie in the background.
That's true.
That's all I'm saying. I see a plushie in the background.
I mean, I actually got multiple Laboon plushies, as a matter of fact.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, well, whenever I was buying the one, you know, I saw that I could combine the shipping and get a second one, and it was almost free. So I'm like, you know what? We're buying two.
Two Laboons.
Yep,
there you go.
Yep, exactly. And so, and then this is also where Vegapunk starts saying like Roger's crew knows a lot of stuff, and so that's kind of hype too.
Oh,
and that's where
that moment with Rayleigh at
Yep.
the end,
Yep.
amazing.
That's a big moment for me. Like that's just so cool. Where he's like, don't be an ass and take it away from the youngsters, because like it's also Rayleigh's in the bar where, remember, we had that same discussion before in Sabaody, where he's like, you want to know everything? And Usopp's like, yes, and then Luffy stands on the table like, no, like if we learn this now, I'm done, you know. And so just to like kind of juxtapose that by, you know, having him in the same place, kind of like telling Vegapunk like, come on, man, you know you're not supposed to tell everybody, like, just it's so good, man. Rayleigh's a boss. Everybody loves Rayleigh.
Yeah, 100%. Like that moment was so great too. I love that you compared it to the Usopp scene as well.
Yeah, and also Eden's, you brought up the Sengoku scene. That's a good one too, because he's like eating so fast that he's like, because he's worried about Garp, I presume, and the cross guild situation, right, and all that stuff. And he's also hearing this announcement, so I think he's like, oh my god, like everything is just terrible. You know what I mean? He's just smashing the rice crackers or whatever. So yeah, major very, very good chapter for sure.
Yeah, and like arguably, I would say some of the chapters around this range, like I would probably say like 1115 is better, but literally Moda's in it, so
yeah,
you know.
So it's not better. This one's better.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, I disconnected. That was very weird.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, well, I didn't know. Do you have anything you wanna say about chapter 1116? Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, just
there we go. Can you guys hear me now?
Yep.
I had to change the input device. Okay. On which one? 1116, right? We're on.
Yep.
So yeah, on the emu stuff, a long time ago, whenever emu was first introduced, Laz and I used to have these conversations about the potential possibilities of emu and the connection with Vivi, especially after chapter 908. And I remember every time I would go back and reread Alabasta, I'd be like, man, are there any clues here? And I'll never forget, there was this image of Vivi's mom that was always just like sticking out to me, like searing into my soul, right? I was like, oh my god, like what's going on here? Is this a clue? And so I'm not saying that. I just think it's a very it's such a funny thing looking back on it, that one of the major pieces of emu stuff that we got in this arc was emu looking up at a picture of Lily. It just, every time I look back on that, I'm like, oh my god, maybe all the theorizing we did for hours on end was actually on the right track. I really enjoyed that section of the chapter. I love emu so much, so anything we get more with emu is always good.
Oh, instant messenger Sama.
Right. Messenger Sama,
the goat. All right, and so the next chapter is 1112. Let me find this real quick. There we go. 1112.
Oh.
Which I had very low. We all had it very low. 1112. All of us. Low. I had it 28. Kev, you had it 31, maybe even 32 after your adjustment.
No, it's 31 still. Okay. Shanks is still on the bottom.
Yeah.
well, Shabs. If it's Shanks, it might be high.
That's true. But this one was called Hard Aspect, and even whenever I was doing my like by the poll, like I put like little descriptions right next to each thing, and this was one chapter where I couldn't even really think of a good description, because there wasn't like a major takeaway from this chapter in my mind. Right. You know, like we get Frankie one-shotting Red King, which is cool. And let's see, we get Nashjuro going around getting more like pacifistas, and I think Vegapunk's like still starting his announcement, and we get like York and Mars talking. Like there's not like anything crazy in here. Edison goes through the barrier, you know. We end with Red Rock, and you know Luffy hurts his hand, and and then the whole chapter ends with Mars walking up and looking at the brain, but we don't actually see Punk Rickard till the next chapter. So there was really nothing in this that like was a major takeaway. It felt like just, I don't even know if setup's the right word, but I would almost call it like a process chapter. It's like Oda's like, all right, I gotta have things
like a transition
happen.
chapter.
Yep, things have to. I gotta let time pass a little bit before I get to the next thing. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
And it felt like it was just kind of random battling.
I love.
So. Go ahead.
I love the Frankie stuff in this chapter. I mean, obviously Frankie in this arc was great, but the Frankie going up against Vice Admiral Neck Dude was fun. It just went straight up to him and was like, "Yo, sit down, dude. Sit down." He just told him to sit down, strong right, one-shotted him. I was like, we love to see it. With Frankie.
And because Red King has like the steam powered punch, you know what I mean? And so for Frankie, like, I got way better tech than you, man. Like, back up.
Exactly.
Like, what are we talking about?
I will say there are some moments in this chapter I did like. Was definitely Luffy using the tower into the worm. Gorosei.
That was great.
That was an amazing panel. I distinctly remember reading that. Yeah. And then Top Man, the Flop Man at the end here with the red rock.
I don't know. I don't know what happened there. Luffy's got to try harder.
And that panel of Nosturo. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's so
oh, dude, that Nostro panel is so peak, bro. It is so good. Raw as raw can be, man.
Oda definitely knew. He was like, all right, everyone likes this guy the most.
Everybody loves Nostro.
That's right.
Yeah,
we gotta make him look awesome at all means.
And Kev, you mentioned like Luffy throwing like that building through Jupiter, right?
Yeah.
And I brought that up in one of my videos where like the way the building like looks, it looks like a rook, from chess, like the top of it. And whenever Sabo attacked the Gorosei, he used a chess termed attack. And so Oda's definitely tied chess to the Gorosei, and that's like one big thing for me, like one big reason right there is that panel. So yeah, underrated.
Yeah.
The next one that we have to rank is chapter 1133. So, as you guys may recall,
great chapter.
That is Robin.
Yes, sir.
Reunites with Saul. So, this one I think is a little bit controversial because the community has it down at 17. I have it at 6. Yeah. Kev has it at 4, and Recon has it at number 1. So, Coach, do you want to stand on the soapbox?
So, this is both the chapter hitting as hard as it did, as well as the week that I had leading into it. So, right before this chapter dropped, I had an extremely emotional week where I explained this a little bit on Twitter, but I was just really, it was just I had just finished writing a novel, and so that's always a really emotional experience. But in the way this novel was done, and the way that that experience went on, I just felt extremely emotionally fragile, while at the same time feeling so grateful for being alive, because I was doing what I truly wanted to do, while at the same time telling a story that felt so personal and real, while also tackling a similar type of topic that was stated in this chapter, which is the beauty and the joy of living, as hard as it may be at times. And so when you get into this chapter, you get the long-term payoff for Robin having lived, just her having lived this entire time. I didn't think the Saul reading was going to hit me as hard as it did, because obviously this was a something that was going to happen after chapter 1066. We're like, okay, this is something to look forward to, and I was looking forward to it, but it was just a circumstance of the week, circumstance of the moment, right time, right place for me. And from the moment the chapter started until the end, I can't recall, besides 1102, can't recall a chapter that made me cry as much as this one. I mean, it was just page after page after page after page, whether it was the Robin stuff, seeing how much she had to go through again, just having all of that weight within the chapter, then having the parallels to the original moment between Saul and Robin, seeing how the Straw Hats care and love for her so much, and how they do it, how they all do it in different ways. But the Saul and Robin stuff just hits so hard, because at its core, it delivers such a beautiful message, which is life is worth living. and it's one of the major key themes and pieces of One Piece that make the series so special. I mean, Enies Lobby so special. It's one of the reasons why Water 7 Enies Lobby sticks with so many people, is that extremely powerful message. But to have it come into fruition here in the way that it did, and like I said, because of the week that I was having, it was a whirlpool of nothing else could have been number one for me, specifically because of the circumstances and the weight of this chapter, and me needing to receive a message like that at that moment in time that resonated with the very core and depths of my soul. This is a One Piece chapter that reminds me why One Piece is my favorite.
Yep.
Because although the series, obviously, I like I always say, I can find a well-written series anywhere. I can find it on Netflix. I can find it in a library. I can find it in my school. I could find it at any given point, and it will be well-written. Something within it will speak to me, and I'll have something out of it. Right? Like, I can find that. I know I can find it because I've proven it before. But what I can't find is what 1133 gave me. And that is what One Piece is to me, and that is why it's my favorite series. So that's why I had to put it number one this year. And to be honest with you, when the series comes to a close, I can't see this not being in my top 25 favorite One Piece chapters, specifically because of the week that I had that week, and this experience being intertwined with that. So that's why this is my favorite chapter of the year.
Yeah, that's
beautiful.
It's hard to beat when real life kind of intercepts the One Piece stuff, and I think a lot of us, like whenever you binge the series, like depending on what you're going through in your life, like you're probably like one of the moments in the story is probably gonna like sing to you because you're getting all that information at once. Like when you're week to week, it's kind of hard to time up the events of the manga with like what's going on in your life. But when you binge it, you might have a couple moments where like, wow, that like really hit me because of what just happened, right? And so kind of like you're saying, like this, like with your week that you had, it's kind of like reminding you of like all those reasons why we love One Piece, because there's probably a few moments throughout the story for all of us that are just like you vividly remember not only like seeing the events for the first time, but like where you were in your life when that happened, right? And how it hit you, and like and it's crazy that lined up for you to kind of have like a similar moment here, so I get that. And Oda definitely did a good job, like squeezing the orange here. You know what I mean? Like he's like, all right, if I'm gonna make a Robin meets Saul chapter, I'm gonna make this, as touching and like as deep as possible, and to get that whole backdrop on like we got info we didn't even know about her struggles, right? Like a little extra info, and like what was the one thing where she like goes to the book and Ohara's not in the book and she draws it in the book?
Yes.
It's like
draws it in the book.
Like Oda, stop. Like, well, don't stop, but like, you know what I mean? Like that's too much.
No, Oda, stop. Good. He needs to stop.
Too good.
Yeah, and also a big boost to this chapter is we also got to see Roto crucified, so that's also a major plus. Right. Major.
Yeah.
Kev, anything you want to say about
this? This is an amazing chapter. I also agree with a lot of the stuff. Like, first off, before I get into the beginning, because that's what I'll mostly discuss, Robin walking up to Saul on the beach and him like reenacting how they first met, that was beautiful. Yes. I really enjoyed that.
Peak.
One of my this isn't even a gripe with the chapter, it's more like my own experience with it, was I wish I was like more emotionally available when I was reading this chapter, because I wanted to like feel more than I did, because Robin, she's one of my favorite characters in the series. She's a character I can strongly relate to, and this chapter even added to that strong relatability with a scene I will not discuss in detail, but the scene with her thinking back on Saul's message. I was like, oh my god, this is deep, and by being as PG as possible, whenever characters go through situations like that, I do feel a strong affinity towards that kind of stuff. So seeing something like that with Robin, whose character already had a very strong connection towards, I really appreciated. Not expected whatsoever. Like, don't get me wrong, it's very in line, but just I didn't expect Oda to go that hard. Because like when he did it with Baby 5, I'm like, whoa, because we don't really know Baby 5 like that, but we actually really know Robin. So that was I don't know, it was a lot for me there. But I'm very happy for you, Recon. First off, writing, being on the grind set, love that. Being able to express your creativity like that, it's one of the best things you can do in this world, you know. So it's amazing that you were able to do that.
Yep, chasing your dreams, man.
It's love, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But I don't know. I just wish I was able to be more emotionally available while I was reading this, because I feel like for some reason, like reading chapters like the Buggy chapter, where he wanted to be the king of the pirates, like that got me more than this. And I think it might be because I knew this was gonna happen.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. That might be why. But no, this was an absolutely amazing chapter. Definitely one of the best of the year. Showing that Robin's one of the GOATs, without a doubt.
100%. Yeah, this was a phenomenal chapter, and I got a little choked up. I didn't outright cry on stream, but definitely was emotional. And all I know, and I don't want a reunion scale, at least generally, but for me personally, all I know is after reading that, I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, when Brook meets Laboon, I might not even be able to read it. You know, I might just I just might be crying the entire time. There might just be no words. You know, so I can't wait for that. And also, go ahead.
My bad. I was gonna say I said the same thing whenever I read this chapter. Upon reading it, I was like, this destroyed me as much as it did, and I can't imagine how Brook Laboon and Luffy Shanks is gonna hit me like this. That those two are really gonna destroy me.
And honestly, I know this isn't like an emotional one, but another reunion that I think is gonna like hit me in, you know, again, it's not quite as sad, but when Zoro finds Mihawk again and they get ready for a fight, I just feel like they don't even have to say anything, and I'm just gonna be like, oh my god, I can feel the power emanating from the page. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Yeah, we got some.
No words will need to be said.
Exactly. They'll just look at each other like, you ready? You know, like that. Like, yeah,
dude, that will be incredible if that happens.
Yes, reunion piece is one of the best pieces of all, for sure.
Agreed.
All right, so the next chapter is 11:18, which is Gear 5 Bonnie chapter.
Amazing chapter.
I think I might have to be the one who defends myself, because I have this all the way down at 25. And it's not because I have a huge issue with Bonnie. I'm not like a huge fan of it either. But it's more so that I don't know if I... Oh, wait, I clicked the wrong one. Oh, yeah, I did click the wrong 11:18. Wait, game once. Yeah, 11:18.
That's right.
Sorry, I had to click the right thing. Well, I had the wrong one up on... I was just scrolling through the chapter and had the wrong number. There wasn't a lot that happened other than the Gear 5 Bonnie thing. You know, like that's kind of my issue. Like,
yeah, I got you.
Like we have Mars attacking, and like the Giants are blocking it, like to protect the ship, and it's just like a lot of like Luffy eats the food and goes back into Gear 5. It's like it was like almost all setting up the Gear 5 Bonnie moment, you know. And so without like a lot of other stuff happening, like the Vice Admirals got aged down, you know, there just wasn't a whole lot. So that's why I have it ranked low. Not that it's necessarily a bad chapter. It's just I really like the ones that have like just a lot of different elements to it. And it's kind of like the Gear 5 Bonnie stuff almost hit harder the next chapter, because they actually like work together to attack and stuff, right? Like this chapter was literally just us seeing it. So that's why I have it down at 25. And the community has it at 16, but you guys both had it at 9. Kev, you may have moved it a little bit.
Hey, Kev!
Yes, mine went down to this is 18 to 12. No, 11. Okay. I don't know what's happening, to be honest. But it's at 12 right now. But yeah, no. This to me, I really enjoyed this chapter. I like the little through line with seeing Alabasta and then Dressrosa, obviously, because they're talking about the ancient weapons. That was cool. I like that. Of course, seeing my guy Koza again, that was awesome. Seeing his father with the I don't remember his name. I think Gogo. I think with the water well, that guy. One of the best characters in Alabasta, who I can't remember his name, but you know, Koza's dad. Great to see them. And you know, Gear 5 Bonnie, that shit was peak. You know, I can't believe that people did not like this. I truly can't believe people didn't like this. That was All I'm saying is, if you're reading One Piece for the power scaling, you're gonna miss out on these emotionally great moments because of your agenda. This was peak. This was so when Kuma said in the speech bubble right here, "You can rest now, Ginny. I swear I'll raise her well." And then we see her like embodying his faith. His faith in this person is now in her. Like that is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And then of course the bookend with Emeth being like, "I think I know Joy Boy is here." And then having that realization at the end. Like so good.
I think
go for it.
Go ahead, Dak.
No, go for it.
Okay, I was just gonna say my thoughts on the chapter, why I had it so high. This chapter kind of captures why I love Wano as much as I do, which is the chapter, like you said, Dak, not much happens until the end. But I feel like that captures the Japanese spirit of storytelling, which is also similar to why it is that I love Wano so much, which is a lot of Japanese stories, a lot of kabuki plays, a lot of those theatrical stories that tell in Japan are all a lot of stuff that is going on to get to a major key moment that strikes a chord with the audience. The Wano was filled with those, and for intentionally because of the Japanese style of storytelling. And this chapter was like the encapsulation of that, where after 1101 and after 1106 and after multiple chapters of being connected with the Bonnie and Luffy stuff, you get the payoff to it, where Bonnie, all the way back at the beginning of the arc when first meeting Luffy, it's like, "Yo, what about that white form of yours?" And it's like, "Oh yeah, that's when I'm the most free." Get to 1101 and you see how she used Gear 3rd because she was thinking of a Nika-like future, and all of that setup of her trying to find this character. And when she is side by side with him, she is able to transform into the transformation that allows her to be the most free, which goes into connection with the chapter title. And I think the thematic elements of it, as well as the emotional payoff of it all, makes it to where that one single double page spread is so powerful that I had to rank it as high as I did. It struck a chord with me in a way that only One Piece can. Similar to, I always compared this moment when it was in that stream to the Going Merry moment. Like, the Going Merry moment makes no sense logically, but it hits you emotionally, where you're like, "Oh, this is so beautiful. Like, this is One Piece right here." And that's how I felt about the Bonnie Gear 5 stuff, where it's like, hey, I have no idea how this makes sense from a logical standpoint or how the fruit works, but by the flag darts is a hitting. It is hitting. You know what I'm saying?
Forget all logic. So,
forget all logic. Like, this means something to me, and I think that's why that chapter I ranked it as high as I did. It's just the emotional payoff to so much of what Bonnie went through to try to reach Luffy, to try to reach Nika, and she did it in her own way, which I think is a really beautiful thing.
I think after, chapters 1103 and 1104, it hits so much harder because not only seeing her flashback with her dad, but then Saturn literally destroy her hope in everything, like right in front of her, and then her being able to gain that back in so little time just because of Luffy, the greatest character in One Piece. Like, it's so good.
So good, man.
Yep. And I think a lot of people's like issue maybe isn't necessarily with this, but is like, all right, how many more Gear 5ths are we gonna get? Like, I think that's kind of it. but the Bonnie element of it all, I mean, like Oda cooked. Like, if you're gonna have someone else get it, like these are like the kind of circumstances and everything you want it, because she's also like inspired by Luffy to do it, and it's just like,
exactly,
there's so many kind of like deep thematic elements there too.
And the next, like we talked about again, like the generational stuff. Like, she is the younger generation to Luffy,
right?
Despite them being, in the worst generation.
Yeah.
She is the future, and seeing how they're inspired by Luffy was really powerful.
Yeah. No, great chapter. I'm actually kind of surprised that it's this low, to be honest. I thought this is one that the community would have a little bit higher. And I actually thought this next chapter that we're going to be ranking, I thought this one was going to be a lot higher, because this is my third chapter of the year, but it's down here at 15.
Wow.
And that is chapter 11 25. What constitutes death?
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
this
Yep.
I could easily be argued into this being my number one chapter of the year. Honestly, easily.
Love it.
But it was ranked 15th.
Great
I had it
chapter.
third. Kev, I didn't get your ranking for this one, and Recon you had
Mine
it
is
13th.
sixth.
Six. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. This chapter.
Great chapter. Great chapter.
You know,
chapter.
It's just like 11, I think 26, where it's kind of like an in between arc chapter a little bit, but it's not that we're going around the world. It's kind of like Oda was cleaning up, like he was cleaning up the loose ends in a way.
Yeah.
And so for us to, I think the big thing is Saturn, dying, which is just
Amazing.
insane, right? And the thing I loved about it is it harkens back to Brook a lot, and also Vegapunk a little bit, because like the whole idea of like what constitutes death. Well, Brook died, had his soul come back, and so you're kind of asking there, like, well, did he really die? Like he, like if your soul is able to just come back, it's kind of like what is death at that point? Then you look at Vegapunk. He died, but he also has these other clones or satellites around, right? And his brain is still there, and people are tapping into it. So it's like, okay, like what is death in the end anyway? And then for Oda to then bring in Saturn, who dies, who probably has like the immortal youth surgery, could regenerate, we just saw a little bit ago, and for him to die, it's kind of like, all right, like Oda, you're cooking, we are getting a little an expose on what it really means to die in One Piece, because we can all joke that nobody dies in the story, which is true, but it's even it's even better when you just think of it in terms of not just the death on screen like Saul and all that stuff, but this kind of stuff where even when Brook dies, he doesn't die. Even when Vegapunk's dead, it's like his brain's still there. It's just like Oda's just tap dancing around that idea. And then I think to kick it all off, or to end it all off, is how we see Saturn's skeleton fall, right? Like everything vaporizes except his skeleton. And what do we know about Brook? He's literally just a skeleton now, right? And so it's like Brook's our example. We're like, you don't need blood, tendons, muscles, that kind of thing to survive. You just need your will. And here, we see Saturn die, and it's like, well, what are we learning there? And you also think about Vegapunk and how he talked to Kuma about the 21 grams of soul that leave your body whenever you die, and we haven't really touched back on that. But Oda has just so closely danced around the idea of what death really is, and I think we're definitely going to be learning more about the underworld soon. I mean, Nushjuro also had ice powers like Brook did, probably tying to the underworld. So for me, this just it was a really good chapter in terms of the arc itself. But I just think, Oda's clearly building on some of the bigger mysteries and points he's made throughout the story, and tying to my favorite character, Brook. So for me, this was I should have probably just put it number one. Honestly, this chapter, and then Garling. I didn't even mention Garling, and then Garling becomes a Gorosei.
Yes, sir, my boy.
And then goddamn,
Garling.
So
bro, we got to see an appointment of a Gorosei. Like that is unheard of.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Never in my life, would I have pictured the Gorosei being replaced in One Piece.
Right.
Because they were always seen as the end game characters. The fact that we saw not just one Gorosei, all 5 of them do something, and then one of them die in One Piece. That's unreal. That is literally unreal.
Yeah, dude.
And outside of that, the Tequila Wolf, Vodka Wolf, all that, of that was revealed this chapter as well, which I thought was crazy. And my personal favorite part of the death was Saturn saying Imu out loud to all these vice admirals.
Yes.
What does that mean for their future in the story? Now that they're aware of Imu as the last words that he said was this, that's going to spread rumors in the Marines about this I don't know. I think there's so much potential.
Fantastic point.
Yeah.
That was the Imu stuff was definitely my favorite part of the chapter too, because like I was saying in the Reverie when I was talking about my MVP besides Emmet and Kuma, is the reason why I loved Imu in this arc so much is Oda showcased how different Imu is to all the other villains in the series, while also capturing what makes all the other villains so special. Like you have this character that has what looks like to be cartoony abilities similar to Luffy, but utilizes them in a way where he can do even stuff like this, where he was nowhere near the vicinity of Saturn. And It just annihilated him. I mean, deleted him from existence in a moment's notice, and it was so villainous. But at the same time, you understood. In that moment, you understood about Imu that if you fail a mission, don't come back because you're not coming back. That's it. Mm-hmm. You're gone. And I appreciated that so much because it showed us as the readers, if the Gorosei fail at any point in time, and also the Gorosei, it showed the Gorosei too. Like, if y'all fail from this point forward, you better watch your back because Imu's not playing games anymore. Like, at this point, Imu's about to come onto the field themselves and be like, yo, if y'all don't do it, I'm gonna do it. So it's so interesting how Imu continues to be characterized through these little moments. And I think this was definitely one of the highlights for me. I mean, come on, get that spider out of here. We love to see it, baby.
That's maybe the other side to it is like, I don't think anybody, not a single person on Earth shed a tear that Saturn had that done to him. There were smiles.
It was one of the most deserved deaths in One Piece because through this arc, like as much as the other Gorosei probably are also horrible people, like I feel like we truly grew to like detest and like loathe Saturn as just like a terrible, horrible person because of how in tune he was with Kuma's suffering in specific.
Precisely.
Now, again, don't get me wrong. All these other Gorosei probably have just as equally terrible things they've done, if not worse, with characters like I would fully believe with how much build-up Noshiro is getting, he probably committed like a crazy, like, you know how Garling did that whole like rundown of all the slaves at God Valley or whatever.
Yep.
I feel like Noshiro could clear islands worth of people, like
Agreed.
Just on his own.
I mean,
like,
you're spitting.
I mean, look at what he did to the pacifista, right? Like he immediately, as soon as he got on the field, sprinted over and took out all the pacifista, and he didn't even hurt them. He just like froze them so they stopped working. Like, what a boss! Yeah. You know, like that. Yeah. If you put him on an island with a bunch of scrubs, they're cooked. They're just cooked. Yeah, there's nothing to say.
They're cooked.
They're absolutely cooked.
Yeah. He's not talking trash, right? He's just doing his job. He's like, okay, I'm killing everyone. All right, that's it.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep. I could totally see Noshiro wiping out literal like entire islands himself for sure. I also wanted to say real quick, shout out to Anonymous for donating $20 like 10 minutes ago. I said to myself like 5 times, all right, make sure you say thank you to Anonymous, and I just kept forgetting, so I apologize, Anonymous, but thank you, I did see it. We're
almost at 500.
Yep.
We're almost at $500.
Nice.
Yep, we passed the 420 marker. Now we just got to get to 500.
Yes, sir.
But honestly, thank you guys for being generous, even as it is. That's amazing, and it's also cool that we've had like a lot of individual donations too. You know, it's awesome to see just a lot of people chipping in for Make-A-Wish. That's awesome.
Yes, definitely.
So the next chapter is this one. This one to me is the most misplaced chapter on the community poll. Well, 1133 is up there too, but I'm curious if anybody in the chat has any thoughts or defense for this. But number 14 is 1105, the height of folly. So for one thing, this was a very short chapter. For one thing, and this is the one where like basically things are just kind of getting set up. Like Kuma's getting taken away, like, you know, they're trying to protect him, and they start the Buster Call, and then we see like Kizaru cut like the tube or whatever that everyone falls out, and there was almost like nothing to me that that really carried this chapter. I guess this is the chapter where we find out that Bonnie can control the Seraphim. Like, she doesn't do it this chapter, but I think Vegapunk's mentioning it, and like I said, it was a really short chapter. So for me, the only highlight, and it's just because maybe I'm a huge Kizaru fan, is when like Kizaru and Saturn are standing there, and they're like, Kizaru and I shall remain on the island. And then Kizaru looks at Doll and is like, go. You know, like, just let us handle it. Like, that was cool. But that was, to me, that was kind of the only thing that really carried a lot of weight. I guess the final panel, I think, is really good, like, art, because, like, just the perspective of it, because you see, like, all of Egghead. Like, that's phenomenal. But as far as the events go, I didn't really dig it. And here's the thing. The community had this ranked 14th. I had it ranked 29th, Kev 30th, Recon 32nd in last place. So so
for the same reasons you listed. Yeah, no major highlights, honestly.
Yeah, I will have to disagree with you there. I will have to disagree. There was one highlight for me that I thought was really cool, which was Saturn blowing up the ship that left Egghead. because that's a direct parallel.
That's right.
Kainu blowing up the ship from Ohara. That was.
But he didn't actually do it though.
Like,
but he didn't actually do it though.
Great point.
Oh, he didn't?
No, because remember he says that, but then later we figure out it's at like because he told them to go, and this is where it sets up. I think is it at the end of this chapter or the next chapter where they say someone's coming. Oh yes, the end of this chapter where we see that it's actually the Marine ship or whatever, right? Like the people didn't die. Yeah. I'll put it that way. Like they got saved. You know what I mean? Like
okay.
Yeah, because like that was like the last report he heard is like they found the ship or whatever. Like it may have gotten destroyed, but like the Giants were there to save them, though. You know what I'm saying? So
okay.
So to me, that kind of got taken away. Like that would have been cool because I did like the Ohara connection, but because we later saw the it actually says right here we failed to neutralize that escaping vessel. We have to report this to Kizaru-san. So that was so the last report was that they destroyed it, but I guess they were that they were a little early and they got caught. So yeah.
Okay. But that idea was just so compelling to me. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, the idea of it for sure was good.
Yeah.
I was big on that development, and then it got kind of taken away, which that's kind of not that this is a arc discussion stream, but that is kind of my one issue with Egghead is there were a lot of like issues set up that were then taken away, and I was just kind of like, all right, Oda's just like making problems just to pass time. It feels like he introduced that ship thing. Oh, they're not actually dead. Or when Brook was like having the Sunny slide off the cloud because he made it all icy. Oh well, Usopp just put up these walls to stop it, so it didn't fall off. Like there was a lot of issues like that Oda just made and then were easily fixed and didn't go anywhere. So, and this is one of them. But I was surprised this was ranked so highly.
Yeah, me too.
It was a relatively okay chapter. Nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Some cool stuff, but nothing crazy.
Agreed. The next one did have something crazy happen though, which is chapter 11-15, and this is where Damaro Black makes his return.
Yes, sir.
Which
my guy.
Which I'm not gonna lie to you. That's a big plus for me. That's a massive like.
Oh, same here.
Yep. We're gonna talk about this in a little bit here, a few more chapters away. Or did we already? Talk about it? And did we skip it? And did I not say it? Did we not talk about Krieg? I think we skipped talking about Krieg.
We did not talk about Krieg.
Yeah, so
we didn't talk about Krieg.
Yeah, but that's another one. That was chapter 11-17, I think. And like seeing these characters come back, like they're still relevant. Yeah. And for Damaro Black specifically, you're dressed as Eustace Kid now?
That was so
like,
funny.
Are you kidding me? Oda, do you look at the memes? Like you have to look at the memes,
Yeah.
Like that to me is crazy.
We do got to say another highlight: the return of Foxy.
Yep.
Yes, dude, that was my next chapter.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Foxy. That's my guy. That's my guy. So
same here.
I love Foxy. And something else I want to point out is I believe I could be wrong, but I believe this is also our first glimpse of the Straw Hat flag in Wano as a sign of that's Luffy's territory. Because remember, he gave it to Momo at the end of the arc, but they didn't actually hang it, right? But in this chapter, you see it hanging under the flower, like under the castle. So I'm a big fan of that. I believe that's the first time we saw it.
I had this at number 5. This was this was one of my favorite chapters of the year. I thought back to this chapter nonstop. For some of the reasons that y'all stated, of course, with Damaro Black and Foxy, because one of the things about Cameo Piece that was so fun was seeing all these characters again that we hadn't seen in so long. But this is also the same chapter where we saw Joy Boy for the first time in Gear 5, fighting against the Ancient Kingdom in one of the coolest silhouetted panels ever. I was screaming when I saw that. We saw Noshiro cut the island in half like Law did in Punk Hazard, and I was like, awesome. Oh my god, this is peak. And that's not even the best part. Then that's followed up with our first real look at the world 800 years ago when we go underwater and see the Sea Kings that are around the sunken area that belonged to, and of course this is a theory that we'd had for a long time, but to have it all be solidified right here, to see it all taking place before our eyes as Vegapunk is in his bag and he's delivering a message that is confirming so many things that we've been wondering about for such a long time. And one of the greatest panels of the arc, man, is the Sea King under the water panel. It's so spooky, so One Piece, so piratey. I just loved it so much. We see Nojiko in this chapter. We see Dr. Kureha in this chapter. It's like, and then we cut over and it's Emu and like, come on, man. This is, as far as setup chapters go, this is probably the most Recon Core setup chapter where you set up hype, you set up theories, you set up fun character moments, fun cameos for certain characters, as well as incredible potential for the future of the series. And this is probably my favorite out of this stretch from like when Vegapunk starts to mess. Well, I can't say that because I have one maybe higher, but but this is definitely one of my favorite from the stretch where it was just the best of what they were all offering. The theory piece, the hype piece, the cameo piece. It was all here. I love this chapter.
Yeah, phenomenal chapter.
One moment in specific, and you mentioned it, which is the emu at the end. That quote, "The great war which ravaged the world is still ongoing."
Yeah,
great. That was an insanely powerful quote.
And to show Emu at that final part of the quote, right? Like this is one of the reasons why manga to me is like such a great storytelling format, is like just the impact of having that line like essentially on Emu's forehead, essentially at the end of the chapter. Like that's just like we're just sitting there thinking like, what does this mean? Like what? Like Emu, who are you? You know, like what? Like what is going on, dude? Like, and then also we see that panel where Emu's like walking with the butterflies, and it just to have that juxtaposition of this great war is still ongoing, and Emu's just with in this peaceful place. It's like, like Oda, Oda, I'm ready for you to cook at any moment. You know, if you want to tell me who Emu is, I'm ready. You know, like this is the kind of stuff where I'm thinking about Emu theories constantly because I need to know. So amazing chapter. And also one other person that we see that's like a bit of like an agenda piece for me is Miss Golden Week. We see that she still exists.
Oh, yes.
And she has that apple on her head, just like Vegapunk has, that she got from her cover story, which I still think could be relevant in some way. We also see Nojiko, which is always a plus. It just also we also did bring up Nushjuro
cameos.
It is one of the best
great
ones.
Cameo chapter.
But Nushjuro slicing the cloud in half. We also didn't talk about that. Like that amazing panel.
So hype.
Oda had some crazy like artwork panels in this stretch. Like when we're underwater looking at the ruins, and there's like the whale and the Sea King. Like so much detail. And even in that panel with Nushjuro, so much detail. Like I think Oda has like a lot of his editors do the background stuff now, right? But like. I don't know if how consistent that is, but that's what I've heard. And it's like whoever's doing it is killing it. That's all I gotta say. Whoever's making those details. And there are some. Go ahead. I've talked enough. Go ahead.
All good. I really enjoyed seeing Mocktown during this section of the arc.
Yes.
I feel like of course Bellamy, the GOAT. He's come to the realization that dreams are real, and you can have these beliefs and stuff. But I do love that there are a lot of characters, like I know we see it on Blackbeard's Island as well, who are just like laughing at the face of all this, like, oh, that's crazy. Like I remember, I think it is the chapter following, which we already talked about, where they show the undersea world again, and there are people, I don't know if it's on Mocktown or Hachinosu, but they're basically saying like, I'll forget all that. Oh, we did, because it's in the same chapter with Cricket talking about diving and like him putting a positive spin on it. And they're like, oh, the world's so deep, that's crazy. You have more of a chance of getting with a mermaid or something. And like we know mermaids are a real thing anyway. It's just so fun how aimless a lot of these people are, because it's like, yeah, you probably could get with a mermaid, but you're saying it as some sort of tall tale thing. Like Big Mom has a great point. Or man or something, like it's so fun.
That's cool to kind of like reset the perspective a little bit, right? Because like when we were earlier in the story, we were kind of wondering the same thing, like you know, like is there a Sky Island? Like are there mermaids?
Yeah.
Or what is Fishman Island like or whatever? And then to kind of like reset it and be like, hey, remember those guys still think that, right? The world, it's not like everybody figured everything out because you figured everything out, right? It's like all these people still don't know. So that's actually a really good point. I love that. That's a really good connection.
A lot of people in the fandom, I think, really do struggle with that fact a lot. It's like there's a lot of dramatic irony in One Piece. Like we know
100%
so much. Like the fact that we learned Goldie Roger in what chapter 200 something,
right?
In Hypea, it might have been 300
or Drum Island.
No, Goldie Roger.
Yeah, it is. Didn't Kureha say it? Isn't that the first?
Dr. Kureha says it.
Yep.
Oh, to see even sooner.
Yeah,
even sooner. But like you get what I'm saying. Like it was so early, and then these guys learned it like 1,000 chapters.
1,000 chapters later. Yeah,
like, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that would be like a really good video topic. Like
the
seriously,
dramatic irony.
Talk about like all the things we know that the characters don't know.
The things we take for granted in One Piece or something like that. You know.
Yeah. I think one thing in this chapter that really stood out to me. In that same Vegapunk panel where he's talking about Joy Boy, where he says, and I quote from the Viz translation, "Say they had no other choice, so robust was Joy Boy's faction. Without knowing the spark that caused the war, I won't say who was right or wrong.
Oh, dude,
I'll simply state that two competing ideologies came head to head." Like, what is that implying for the Void Century? That's such a cool implication.
I won't say who was right or wrong. The 20 Kings had a good reason.
Right.
You know, that's the implication, which is like, Oda, like, what is it? You know, please tell me the reason. You know.
Do you guys? This is a bit of agenda-y kind of stuff, but like, the Lunarians had to have been connected to it then, like heavy, like not as one of the 20 Kings. Like they got wiped out for a reason.
They were on behalf of the Ancient Kingdom. For sure.
They got wiped out
because they lost their homeland, right? Or like, well, I guess their land they were living. I guess we don't know if that's where they were originally from, but that's the implication from Whitebeard. Right. So,
and possibly the 3-Eye tribe as well, because they're like very commonly paired, putting in a king.
Yeah, they were mentioned later. I don't think we've talked about that chapter yet either, because remember how they we also get the ancient weapon potential conduits in the one chapter where they bring up the ancient weapons. And we see Shirahoshi, Vivi, and Isa, which seeing Isa in that chapter just, oh my god, dude! Like I've been saying, I've been a little bit here nor there, but I've always been saying, hey, we at least gotta think about Isa for Uranus. We have to, like, she's the little girl from the sky, you know, like that's like just that's like the motif, kind of, right? Is it's like even if, and I don't know if Momo's gonna end up being Pluton, but he did control Zunisha, and he was like a little kid also, right? Like, and now he's grown up. But regardless, Oda loves doing that little kid controls giant creature type thing. So,
think about the Iron Giant. Think about that movie.
Yeah. Which
he loves that movie. Emeth is in the story right now.
Great movie.
Yeah,
I saw that movie in theaters so many times. Like whenever it first came out.
Yeah.
Oh my god, such a good movie. Yeah. The next chapter that we have to talk about, actually the next two, are some pretty big deviances, and I think all three of us are going to be defending these next two chapters heavily. 12th place is chapter 1121. I had this fourth. Kev, you had this third. Recon had this fourth. This to me, this is the peakest of the peak hype chapters that you can ever have. You know,
this
is the one with the ancient weapons I brought up. But whenever and also the 3-Eye tribe, like all that's in there. Like this is literally hype, back to back.
Both times.
Like Saturn gets turned to Swiss cheese with a combo attack between Bonnie and Luffy, so we get like a little bit of
Luffy, come on,
like a little bit of a delivery from what we saw earlier, and then we get a little bit of Roger hype also, right? And then it comes down to Vegapunk saying that the fate of this world will be decided by whoever finds it. It all depends on who finds the One Piece. Like Vegapunk is just on his soapbox, like. That's like Oda giving us like a marketing message for the final saga. Like that's what it felt like. It's like you're gonna think about the ancient weapons. We're about to figure out what's going on with these races. We're gonna figure out what's going on with the One Piece. Like the world is about to be, flipped on its head. It's like, okay, Oda, I'm ready.
You know what it is, Dak? It's Kevin Harlan on commentary being like, and next Sunday LeBron will take on Steph Curry in the NBA Finals.
It's Game 7. The Warriors gave up a 3-1 lead.
7.
Yep. And I'm just sitting
That's
there
right.
like, bro, it's pregame too. It's pregame. You got who else? Mike Breen, probably. You know, you got them on there just hyping it up. You got the GOATs on there. You got Charles Barkley on TNT. You know, you got all of the GOATs just like, this is the biggest game. You got the biggest players here. Like, history is changing. Like, this chapter,
That's right.
To me, this is, whenever I thought about the best chapters of the year or best moments, the final panel from this chapter was the first thing I thought of. Like, all the contenders.
Exactly the same here.
Yeah.
I'm just like that. I'm just ready, man. I'm like, Oda, if you gave me the rest of the chapters for One Piece right now, I would sit there for however many days it took to read it all. Like, I'm ready. You know, like I need the end. I like Oda. I don't care what happens. I'm sitting around to the end. Like, I need to know what the One Piece is. So.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it was it genuinely, out of all the stuff in Egghead, I think this is the one that gave me the most like chills. I was like, we are actually so close to the end. Like, seeing all this, like the best part, I loved that there was a break after this chapter. This was
me too.
It was like these are the characters that matter the most. It was great. And like seeing people come up with these things like, oh, Akainu's on this section and Sabo's on this section. Is that mean they're gonna like contrast? And oh my god.
Like
and
Imu and Kobe? What?
Dude,
like, what?
That we're so deep in that Luffy, Buggy, and Kobe are in the final 12 and produced in like chapters 1 to 5, and they're still here. And they're not just still here. They're some of the most important in the whole world. Like, that is how deep it goes.
Marshall D.
Kev, bro, the second to last page, going on to what you were saying, has in equal value. I'm saying an equal value. We have Roger, Rayleigh, the island full of lead, Shanks' ship, and then it's Buggy's island. Buggy of equal importance to Goldie, Roger, Shanks, and flipping Blackbeard. We're in the end game, man.
And then you get the Marines where they're like, there's no way, we'll just stand by. Let's go and find it first. Like, dude. The Marines are going for the One Piece? What are we talking about?
It's nuts. It's nuts.
Like, and also,
shout out.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say shout out to my girl Pudding was in this chapter. We saw Pudding and we had a lot of great we had a lot of great like things that were associated with certain characters, right? So like we had the man-made disasters with the weapons, which showed Shirahoshi and Vivi. Of course, we go into the things that still exist today, showing Skypiea. We cut over and we see Marco when thinking about what's atop the Grand Line. Then we think about the races, which include the Lunarians and Three-Eyed Tribes. So we have King and Pudding, and it's like so many great things from a presentation standpoint that the cameos just on point. We have Iceberg and then we have Caesar and Judge, and it's like so many great things that were presented in such a magical way that presentation was on fire in this chapter. Like Oda's pen, his pen's always on fire, but I feel like in this one he almost burned the house down. Like he almost burned the house down.
You know the Blackbeard meme where like he's like writing, like people use it for like cooking or theorizing. That was literally Oda this whole chapter, literally.
Yeah.
I do want to say chapter, one of the things two things I really liked was a lot of this chapter obviously focused on Roger and Whitebeard. And we saw like that screen of Vegapunk right before we see Vivi and Shirahoshi is at Logtown. It's at literally where this man died. And now he's saying he changed everything with this quote. Dude. At that exact place. And he's talking about that exact quote. It's just like, that's perfect. But then like this little sequence here, you know, a lot of people speculate now, was Whitebeard a Buccaneer? That's obviously a theory a lot of people are throwing out there.
Yeah, which I agree with. But yep.
It's Kuma talking about, you know, he's a Buccaneer. And then Whitebeard has this transition where it's like he's alluding to Lunarians, but it's also like if you're putting Kuma and Whitebeard together, you know, that could imply that he's one. He's got the same exact chin as Kuma. The exact same chin. I think that's a big underrated thing there. You know what I mean? But yeah, that stuff was great. And my favorite thing, you know, outside of just the whole chapter was my favorite thing. The end is obviously the best. But
yep, agree.
Like, amen to that.
Dude, the Luffy, Bonnie, Goku
Yes!
Gohan level. Like it literally felt like the Cell saga with Goku
100%,
helping
yes.
Gohan kill Cell. It was
It
was
was
so
the father son of
ridiculous.
Kamehameha, bro. It was
It
so
lit-
good.
no, Recon, literally. It literally was that to me. And I was like, you can't do this to me. And it also has that same dynamic because like the age difference and she's crying just like how Gohan was crying. I'm like,
Yes.
what's happening,
Yes.
man? It's so good.
Beautiful.
And I think
Amen.
a lot of the time when I've been reading this arc, this will be not heavy, but like, obviously Toriyama passed this year. That was a
Mhm.
crazy thing that happened this year, and we know Oda was very close to Toriyama. So I don't know. I've
Mhm.
been noticing. Maybe they aren't like meant to be this, but I've been noticing a lot more like Dragon Ball ish stuff in One Piece
Me
because
too.
of just how influenced that series was, of course. But
Mhm.
the connection the two had. So yeah, no, it was
Yeah,
just
man.
amazing chapter. That end double page spread, I literally had as my wallpaper for like a week or two
Same.
after the
Yep.
Same here.
I feel that.
not believe
Yep.
what I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Just
This is similar to what Dak was saying, that like if you gave me after this chapter, if you give me all the rest of the chapters, I don't care how many days it would have taken to read it, like I would have sat down to read it. I think this is the perfect trailer chapter for the final saga.
Yep.
Like
Yes,
if they ever want to make a
exactly.
trailer for the anime for the final saga, you just put the panels from this chapter, put music to it, and that's a trailer for the final saga. Like
Agreed.
it is a commercial for the final saga.
You know how they do like the volume promotional like videos sometimes? Like I distinctly
Yes.
remember when they got to volume 100, it did like every character, like all the warlords, all the
Yeah.
young straw hats, the revs, like every character was like shown, right? It was a huge thing. And then for the Gear 5 volume, they did this crazy like colorful one, the one with Egghead, which was awesome. It showed every island the straw hats went to,
Right.
like this computer thing.
Yep.
Whatever
Game Boy
volume
Advance style.
this is, I haven't seen that trailer then, because that
Yeah.
shit must be crazy. Like
It's gotta be
I'm
crazy, dude.
gonna look it up after this stream because I need to know. Like they definitely must have done
Yeah.
something crazy in this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. 11/21 was like just, I don't know. It probably lived rent free in all of our heads for that break week. But
That break week.
but you know what was
Yep.
crazy? Even I would say even crazier than 11/21 was 11/22, which is our next
It was
chapter.
even crazy.
And-
It was
What?
even-
There's no way that's this low.
So I was
There's
about to
no
say
way.
of all these rankings, I might call this one the most disrespectful ranking.
This is
because
insane.
we
this
all
is
had
insane.
this ranked
Yeah, this is
second,
insane.
by the way. All three of us had this ranked
Oh
second.
my gosh.
And this one, the rope hockey. What else do I need to say? We saw Joy Boy.
I think-
We
I
saw
think-
Joy Boy.
We
didn't
saw
just-
Joy
we
Boy,
didn't
bro.
just see
We
Joy
saw
We
Joy.
He had a
heard
straw hat.
Joy Boy talk. Joy Boy talk.
We
for this
heard
chapter.
Joy Boy talk.
Do you guys remember?
He used an
like,
ability.
do you guys remember Emu showing up was crazy, right? That was crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they had a whole chapter dedicated to Emu talking. It was a whole thing. He went on a monologue
In 85.
to Cobra. He went on a
Yep.
whole monologue
Yep.
and then killed him. He was so confident that he's like, I'm going to kill you. That's the only reason I'm speaking to you.
Mhm.
Like, that was insane. Now imagine this.
Yeah.
The main rival to Emu, the first pirate in existence, which we haven't, we haven't got to that chapter yet. That shit was also peak though. I'm glad that's in the top 10. That was a great chapter. The first pirate, the one to go against everyone in the Void Century. The Void Century ended after this man died. The man who's been hyped up for 500 chapters, like a decade in real life. And he finally shows up. Not just for that. Possibly being the peg leg man. Possibly. That was a theory
Mhm.
flown around. And then he talks.
Yep.
He talks. And then not only that. Emeth with the X on the arm? What is that? What does that mean?
And then I gotta say, when they're talking and there's a little music note there, and Emmett is happy,
Yes.
Yes.
like
Yes.
bro. Like that is,
Come on.
you know, you think about Luffy wanting a musician since day one. They're like, all right, let's go get a doctor. He's like, what's the musician? You know, like that's literally how it was in the pre-time skip. And to see in Joy Boy's first like real introduction, where I mean, he's still silhouetted and all that, but to see that music note, just for me, I mean, as a Brook fan and as someone who, like, I mean, I like Brook for who he is, but I also like Brook for what he stands for as far as like being the musician and how important music is to being a pirate and all that kind of stuff, right? Being sake, all that. Like to see that little music note, it almost gave me like Laboon vibes. You know what I mean? Like Emmet is kind of like Laboon getting left behind, right? It's just it's so good. And I also got to throw out there, we haven't even really gone into this part of it, which is like almost more insane, is how the rope hockey sent all the Gorosei back, right?
And erased their forms.
And
they lost their forms.
And made Joy Boy fall, or made Emu fall to his knees.
Shook.
To the knees.
Shook.
Sweat beads. If we're sweat bead scaling like a lot of these people do, Emu is not even in the same room. Dude, imagine this, right? You know how Green Bull like pissed himself when Shanks was present?
Yep.
Yeah.
This is
Emu
similar, but with Joy Boy.
Was in another universe on the whole other side. It wasn't like an island in a ship.
Yeah.
It was like all the way up there. And he's still
exactly.
It's not Wi-Fi hockey. It's like Starlink hockey. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like it's literal.
Yes.
Like it doesn't matter where you're at. Joy Boy's, you know, like bringing you down. Like that's dude.
Exactly.
Like
and it's not just that. It's not just him saying Joe. The scream of pain that Emu let out. It was a horrific realization. Like, oh no, it's still not over.
Well, like your nightmare is right in front of you. You know
exactly. And
it's
dude. And
this chapter's just going back into like what I was saying about 1121, which is it's like a combination of everything we love about One Piece. This is also a chapter that has everything: hype piece, emotional piece, flipping
lore piece,
theory piece.
Yep,
bro. The two lines I haven't been able to stop thinking about in regards to this chapter is in the double page spread when Emmet says, "Sorry that I couldn't make you king." Joy Boy. As well as like Dak was talking about with the flipping rope hockey. Rope hockey completely changed the way that every single one of us look at what the One Piece could potentially be.
Yep.
Because it changed the game. It's like, dude, the rope is a part of the logo. The rope is piratey. Yeah. That has to have something to do with what the One Piece is. So once again, it's a chapter that makes us appreciate what we've gotten so far. It's a chapter that makes us appreciate the present moment. Also being a chapter that makes us speculate about the future. Is Joy Boy the peg leg man? What is the relationship between, what is the true relationship between Emmet and Joy Boy? Why did he fail to make him king? Why is Emmet apologizing when we know that Joy Boy apologized to everyone in Fishman Island? And above all of that, this hockey that's been tied of the greatest hockey, if this was inside of Emmet, then by the Flagnards, the One Piece could be the very same thing. So it's like so many potential end game Void Century things were dropped in this chapter that forever changed the way I look at the series. And it's like, man, I can't believe all of this happened in a single chapter, bro. It's crazy.
It blows me away. And I want to just read real quick a little bit of what Emmet was talking about, because like with how hyped this all was, like just the events themselves, I think it gets lost a little bit how important the dialogue is, because he's like, I'm sorry, Joy Boy. I want to apologize to you too. I knew that there was no way or no chance he would still be alive. And then he looks over at Luffy and is like, you look just like him. It was nostalgic. My feelings from that day came rushing back. I hope Joy Boy forgives me. I failed to make him king. Like, that's just like, oh my, like, you know, that whole thing is like, okay, like Joy Boy has like, or Emmet, like, why are you apologizing? Like, yes, we get that you failed to make him king, but like, did you mess up? Like, what exactly is it? Just that he didn't become king? Like, you're also the one who got left behind. So it's like, what is that? Like, what is that whole thing? But then the part that I think I like even more is and Luffy's listening to this, by the way, because he's like, king? Question mark? And I'm like, okay, so like Luffy is learning about Joy Boy right now. You know what I mean? Like, you're learning that he was just like you. And then Emmet asks Luffy, what's your name? And Luffy yells, "I'm Monkey D. Luffy, the man who's going to be the king of the pirates." And then you see Swip and the ropes pulled, right? It's like, that's all Emmett had to hear. He's like, all right, like you remind me of Joy Boy. It's nostalgic. You have powers just like him, and you want to go be king? All right, this is the moment. Because remember, a couple chapters ago, Emmett was thinking, like, is it the right time? Remember, it's like, is it the time? Is the time come? And that was the confirmation. And it's like, man. And also Emmett thinks D to himself. He's like, he heard D, a D wants to be king. It's like, all right. And then he's like, and then he's like, hey, Luffy, thank you. You let me hear that nostalgic rhythm one last time. It's like, it's like,
So
whatever
Same
we
thing
find out.
Zunisha said.
Yes.
Same thing Zunisha said. Yo.
When we find out about Joy Boy's crew and what they were like and how much they believed in their captain and all that, it's going to be just like the Straw Hats. But it's basically going to be like if the Straw Hats failed, and that might be a top 3 thing that I want to see is Joy Boy's crew and what they were like and their interactions like that.
I just
peak
100%.
I need it to be the same amount as like Shanks's crew and Blackbeard's crew, and they all need to have the same number. I need that so bad, just for the satisfaction. And there's and like, dude, the scale of this "I failed to make him king" panel is crazy. Like, crazy, as insane as like the worm and the pig are in a lot of it, just looking how much of an ant Luffy is.
Yep.
And like he's literally has giants and giant monsters, and he's just there. He's the size of a speck.
Mm-hmm.
He's literally like in the One Piece white background flex stuff that Oda always does. Luffy is basically that. And it's so insane. Like this panel of the Sunny, like it's above, but you look just like him. It was a nostalgic panel. Luffy is literally a dot on the panel, and that's how he matters so much, and he's so nothing in the grand scheme. Like that type of sentiment, I always love in stories, and One Piece is so good at that. Like, did any of us think we would be talking about Lola for this long?
Seriously,
Lola. Like that's just one character, and think about it. Like Kobe's in this chapter. Kobe is the most spec character you could ever get. And then Kobe in this chapter, you know, people might not like it, but Kobe saying, "I have to stop you from achieving," insane.
Love it. Absolutely
insane. Love it. And then, you know,
also
of
your
course,
boy Buggy.
Got Buggy greatness in this chapter, bro. Buggy greatness.
Michael Buggy, he's like, no, it's not my world. It's not Chairman Buggy's world.
It's
our world, bro. Dude, you could have seen
and
heart eyes right here.
The ultimate
and
leader,
then
Buggy.
we get another confirmation to the rest of the world that yes, the One Piece does exist.
Yes.
The people of the planet are like, oh my god, it does exist. We got to go get it again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh,
it's
dude,
this
is
Whitebeard.
And they're like, wait, the fate of our world depends on pirates. Wait, what's going on? It's like it's Roger's speech times 2. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's like it's that again, but even crazier.
Yep.
And one last thing I want to mention about this is that panel towards the very end when like they're talking about the knot plan. And Emmett is like, so when the time is at hand, you'll still be there to help. It's like, I just, I don't even know what to think about that. You know, it's just, like Joy Boy being able to help from beyond the grave, but then also like Emmett is using that to help the future Joy Boy. Like there's just, man, like you could. It's crazy.
It could be very similar, Dak, to what Whitebeard said. Like, Teach, you're not the man Roger's waiting for. It had that type of feel to it.
Yep,
you know,
a
mysterious feel that carries so much emotional weight.
Yep, it's such a great chapter.
It's like the sentiment too with the rope, because obviously, like you guys were saying, it gets tied to the logo. But like, what is a rope? It's something that brings things together. You know, it holds things together, and it's like that connection. You know, and you can get it in like a heady way. Yep. It connects people. Exactly. It connects things. It keeps things together.
It makes things one piece.
It makes things
Cook.
Like, and just all this stuff. It's so good. And this is all coming back. You know, it could be connected to the weather knots from Nami's time skip. It's just like, how deep does this rabbit hole go?
Yep.
And then, of course, you know, Recon, you being a Shanks guy, the fact that even later they're like, it kind of reminded me of Red Hairs. Like, that's so
for real.
crazy. It's
so cool, dude.
How is this, you know, community? What's up, guys? 11th?
I know.
11.
And,
you know, think about it like this. We all had it at number 2. And 11 is 1 and 1, which is just 2. Like, really?
It's basically the same. It's pretty much the same. And by the way, I mean, I'm sure you guys could presume this, but, you know, us three did not coordinate our rankings in any way, shape, or form. So whenever I see us aligned with no prior discussion, I'm like, oh, okay, that's a peak chapter.
It was like us three had like ropes and they were like tied together in a way.
That's true. That's true. And you know, I mean, I don't want to keep harping on how I you know, disagree with the rankings, but I will say just because 1122 was the preceding one, the next chapter is 1111. And I don't think that has any business being above 1122. No disrespect to 1111.
No, I don't either.
Because I mean, you had the baseball bat moment, which was like hilarious.
That was a fire moment.
Yeah, very good moment. You had the sun shield thing where Topman and Dorian Broggie were going at it, which is pretty cool. You had the roar where Luffy's scar like comes off his body, right? Like the little joke panel, which is great. But But I don't know. To me, we also had the Zoro and Lucci like aftermath, and then Jinbei finished it off. So like to me, it was kind of like there was nothing super duper crazy in this chapter. So I had this down at 24th actually, and Kev, you had it at 20th, or maybe you moved it
22,
22, and then Recon 31.
So
I should have put it above 11-12 because I forgot about the bat moment. And that's a major highlight for me because I love Gear 5.
Yeah.
So I probably should have put it a little higher, but I'm in the same sentiment as Dak, because where it's just once again surrounded by so much greatness, it has to go down. It's the unfortunate thing of this year being so stacked, but I still really enjoyed the chapter, and especially the Gear 5 comedic stuff. So yeah, I'd probably put it a little higher on thinking back to it, because I definitely like it more than 11-12 now I think about it.
Yeah, and
I do want to say I really did enjoy, you know, as Lucci's biggest fan apparently, I really enjoyed the scene of him talking with the bird Gorosei, and the bird Gorosei Lucci asking about Kaku. They say like, oh, where's Kaku? Kaku's in there. You got to save him. And then the bird Gorosei saying, why save one insect when you can exterminate the hive?
Yeah,
that was awesome. That was a great moment for the Gores,
and could go on to change Cypher Pole's opinion on things. I think
exactly.
You know, like it's one thing when Cypher Pole goes around, you know, treating people like dirt. It's one thing, but whenever they get treated like dirt by their superiors, I feel like that's going to be a little bit of an eye opener. Like, wow, okay, like we aren't special. Like they probably know that, but I think to like have it in their face like that is going to move them
in front of these monsters.
Exactly. And then the next chapter is chapter 1114. So I had this at 22. Kev, you had it at 12, and Recon, you had it at 19. What was this? What's called like the Wings of Icarus, I think. So this is where we get the Mother Flame reveal.
Yes.
Which is a very big moment.
Yep.
We also see Doflamingo talking to Magellan in Impel Down, which I feel like is underrated.
Whenever Doflamingo shows up and starts talking that talk, it immediately levels.
It's always peak.
Exactly. You know when like, and I feel like Oda knows it too. Oda like knows for the rest of the story, like, all right, anytime I show Doflamingo, it's got to be something crazy. You know, like he's got to be in a crazy moment, cackling about the fate of the world or some, you know, stuff like that. Like he's literally like a ticking time bomb where he knows so much, but is like in jail right now that anytime you show him, it has to be like, you know, game breaking. And also we saw that the Celestial Dragons like don't know about the Void Century, or they at least don't understand that, you know, they don't understand the full context in some regard, because they're like, the Void Century, what is he talking about? So that was big. We also saw Shushu, which is always a plus.
Amazing.
Yeah, always a major plus. And then we also end with what is in my opinion the highlight, even though the Mother Flame part is crazy, but the fact that Joy Boy is the first pirate, that was this chapter.
Elite.
Yeah, man.
I think that was one of the most underrated moments in Egghead in the community. I think that was unreal.
Yeah. Huge.
Oh.
That's just like, and it's one of those things where once you hear it, you're like, of course, that makes perfect sense. Like Oda, like it's just I'm not surprised now that I hear it because like Joy Boy and the Ancient Kingdom was so great. Like of course, like the age of piracy truly started with Joy Boy. Like of course, like that's
exactly
like you could have probably guessed that without no even reason, just because. So just such a good chapter. Honestly, this one was really good. Still, again, I don't want to keep harping on it, but I don't think this one should be above 11, 22, or 21 either. But,
oh my god! And this little bit right here, this is a very like little thing, and just like the legendary sun god Nika from the Fables of Elbaf, that little bit, it's just like so Nika's from Elbaf. It's like that is so much
huge.
Hype.
That was game changing. That was game changing for me. So after I heard that, Kev, I was like, are we gonna see the origins of Nika and Elbaf? Like, is that where we're gonna get the flashback for Nika?
Like imagine this, right? So we were talking about Jarl earlier because Jarl is so old, right? Jarl's granddad probably knew Joy Boy or dad. Like that's how That's definitely, how in the loop
granddad.
They are.
Definitely granddad.
Granddad probably saw Joy Boy walking around.
Yeah, they
interacted.
He probably dapped up with Joy Boy at some point.
He dapped him up.
Oh man,
so crazy! Like just the potential of all this stuff. And first off, seeing Saul, awesome. One girl, Charles's sister, I think, not knowing about the Void Century, amazing. Shushu. Amazing.
It adds weight to the Celestial Dragons. The fact that they don't know what that is.
Yes, it adds to the idea that they're like they are also victims of this history being erased. They're in charge and they don't even know why. How crazy is that? And of course, this panel of the Mother Flame, one of the most detailed panels in the entire arc with this gorgeous shading.
And the Ayamu thing that like like people have talked about, like maybe that means like Adamu or something, or a lot of potential connections there. Like that little hint. There's like just so many things.
I also really loved this one panel here of an island flooding. I thought that was a really, really cool moment to show like,
I was about to bring that up.
Like it's happening in real time.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and that coincides with Water 7, right? Because in this same chapter we got Water 7, and they say, and I quote, "Around here we believe him," referring to Vegapunk, but the whole world. And so it's like going back to what we were talking about earlier. They've lived it. They have lived the repercussions of an ancient weapon. They've been living it for this entire time. So like now the whole world is feeling that, and so like, we believe him, but is the rest of the world gonna believe him? And also, is that also happening on a worldwide scale now?
Yeah, and the fact that Iceberg is trying to make Water 7 float like even before this, and so it's like Water 7 like Iceberg is gonna be busy in the final saga. He's people are gonna be calling him for his services all final saga. Like, hey man, can you save my island, please? You know what I mean? Like, how'd you make your island float? Which my theory for that is that it's gonna be putting it on an iceberg because ice floats.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so Iceberg uses icebergs.
That's cooking.
I think about it like this. When was Aokiji introduced? The Water 7 saga?
Water 7 arc.
That's key.
That's a cook.
And he also was at Long Ring Longland, and the water from Long Ring Longland is what causes Aqua Laguna. The water lowers at Long Ring Longland, so it's like he already connected those two. So absolutely. Also, real quick, major shout out to Mr. Rubik's 01 donating $20 to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I appreciate you, my friend. Appreciate you sliding in too, Mr. Rubik's. I feel like it's been a minute since I've seen you. Or at least just in general. Like even I feel like I saw you whenever I would go to like even other people's streams and stuff. I don't know if you've been busy, but I'm glad you're back. Or maybe you've been around and I just haven't seen you, but glad you're here.
That's pretty awesome. We're almost at $500 for Make-A-Wish. And, speaking of wishes, I wish that 1122 and 1121 were higher, but it is what it is.
There had to be some rigging of the vote or some misinformation or something.
This arc discusses misinformation a lot. That's one of the main
That's
themes.
true.
That is true. Yeah, actually, One Piece is all about misinformation, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
All right, next chapter is chapter 1113, which is, I don't know what the name is, but it's the Vegapunk brain reveal chapter, where we see inside Punk Records. Very good chapter. I had this ranked 8th, so actually I was right on the money with the community. Kev, you were 15th, and Recon 20th, so you guys were a little bit lower than me. And I will happily admit that I don't even know what else happens. I just know that Laboon is in this chapter, and we see Vegapunk's brain, which is like one of the things I was waiting for the most the entire arc. So we also saw Chopper's time skip island, which is cool.
We did. We saw a lot of cool people. We saw Mary. That was pretty awesome.
Oh yeah,
Mary.
that's cool.
That was really cool.
The Usopp Pirates. Awesome.
Yes, that was good. I think the major highlight, obviously, besides the world will sink to the sea for me, was the Straw Hats doing everything in their power, specifically the weak Straw Hats, not counting Brook, obviously. I'm talking about the weak trio, like Chopper, Nami, and Usopp, doing everything in their power to stop Saturn. Was so good for me, where I was like, this is really, really powerful, because it just goes to show how consistent they are, that all the way back from Enies Lobby until now, their bond is so strong that it doesn't even matter if it's a Gorosei that's pulling up on them. Chopper, Nami, and Usopp will pull, barring any and all things, y'all are not taking Nico Robin from us. And I love that entire spread. It was so good.
Yeah.
And I love it because, and I mean, this goes for pretty much anything involving Robin at this point, but you know, like the crew is protecting her because she's their friend. Like they don't even really care about the poneglyph, the translation part of it. But from like a grander element of the story, you know, like in terms of the Void Century and the D-Clan plan or the Ancient Kingdom plan, whatever, like Robin needs to live so that she can translate the poneglyph. She's like one of the most essential people to have. So I just love how Oda has made it where like whenever Nami is saving Robin here, we don't even think for a second that she's even thinking about the poneglyph. She's just like, my friend's in trouble. You know, that's all that matters. And so that's amazing. And honestly, guys, we said all of that without even bringing up probably the biggest thing in the chapter, which is where it ends with our world is going to sink into the ocean. That was this chapter.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Which is a story changing moment completely. You know,
major reveal for the entire series forever.
Yep, it's changed everything for sure. This
contextualize everything for sure.
Yeah.
I do want to go back on the protecting Robin stuff. Saturn seeing Robin for the first time and her thinking back to Ohara with him being on the Den Mushi. The fact that she even remembers his voice. That's how like ingrained it is into her. It's so crazy. And then him literally even saying that she's only alive because Akainu like is terrible, because I love how they all hate Akainu. That's one of my favorite like little trends of the Celestial Dragons. Yeah, no, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, this was a great chapter. And the next one on our list, this is a big one for me, and I will say, Recon, I am going to ask you to defend this selection, because we have 1107, which is when Van Augur and Katarina Devon show up. I got this at number 5, and I have no problem admitting that I'm just putting heavy weight on one line. This may be my favorite panel of the year. Maybe there's so many good ones, but this is easily top 5, which is when Augur's like the world. You know, like that.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
great
the cold. It's the coldest panel of the year. I can definitely say that. Like that is just, to me, that panel alone puts this in the top 10. Just because I love Augur, I love the Blackbeard Pirates. Seeing them finally show up and get the copy Saturn's form, and for Augur to flex on him like that, and he like looked over, like side-eyed him, and then he went for the attack, and Augur just teleported him like. You can't get more badass than that sequence. It's like I think it might be impossible, honestly. And Augur already has like tremendous aura. I mean, did you guys see the animation for the cover story? Yeah. I mean, my God, like everyone just looks this. It's crazy. This chapter is also where Sanji blocked Kizaru, and Kizaru had like the shook face, right?
Yes.
So this was a phenomenal chapter for me. So
Yeah.
I was tripping when I ranked this for sure. Same thing with 11-11. I don't know what I was thinking when I was ranking both of them, because I ranked this at number 29. I was definitely tripping, because this chapter also has a really beautiful moment between Bonnie and Luffy that I really loved right before he hits Saturn with a Gatling. So all that together, especially with the world, I definitely should have had this higher. I should have had this higher than 11-12. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I
I
was definitely tripping. Yeah, that's I have nothing to defend. I was tripping. I was tripping 100%.
No, I feel you, man.
100%, man.
No, there were some in my ranking where like I think whichever one was it, 11-12, whatever one it was earlier where we were, or 11-20. It was 11-20, right? That like there's some chapters where like
11-20.
Yeah, that one that needs to be higher. That's the one that to me we all.
I might move it high.
Yeah, that's a top 10. Clover. Oh man, I have no problem putting Clover top 10.
And like, I just want to. I'm just thinking about the coldest panels, right? I will say the world, very cold, but there are some that's just like that one panel of Shanks after he's talking to Bartolomeo. Oh my god!
Oh, yeah.
Where it's just like the heavily.
Super cold.
Yeah, I'm screen sending it right now. Just this one, I put it in the side right here. This panel here of Shanks, insane, insane. This panel, I was shook for a bit. I was like, whoa. Well, Shanks looking kind of evil right now. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And this panel
of
Garp. Same exact chapter. This panel of Garp has insane aura. Yeah,
aura.
Insane aura. So these two,
looking like Ace.
Looking like Ace. I also really love, what's it called? I was gonna kill. Well, obviously the double page spread, but that's a double page spread. That's different. But yeah, no, the world, chilling, Teach's special.
Yep.
God, like dude, the way they were just talking.
It's just, it was just pure aura. Like they just came in and dunked on everyone and left. You know what? Like they posterized Saturn basically.
Like nothing. Right. It's just like
they took his cookies. There was no problem, and
they took his cookies.
and I gotta say, like the thing about the Augur panel that really gets me, like it's not just the fact that all he says is the world, but it's also just the way he's chilling with his rifle on his shoulder. Like he is not concerned that a transformed Gorosei is 2 feet away from him. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like Usopp, get to work. You know, like that's all I can think. Like you gotta match this Usopp. I'm an Usopp believer, right? I love Usopp. One of my favorite characters easily in the story. I will defend Usopp to the day I die, because a lot of 100%. People that I've gotten into One Piece, they complain about Usopp. Like that's like one of their least favorite people. Like at least traditionally. But I'm always telling them, like, you guys, like, it might take you till the end of the story to understand, but Usopp is one of the best characters that Oda has written easily for me. Like the development of 100%. Usopp, him being like a real person in the world, essentially, right? He's like a normal dude. He's like one of us, throw into the world. And then I just look at Augur over here, and I'm like, I don't know how you're gonna do it, Usopp, but let's get to work. I mean, it's got to happen somehow. You know, I don't know.
All I'm saying is, it's a great sign that Usopp's opponent, like, no shade to Shiryu, right? Shiryu's also pretty cool. He also had a lot of buildup, but I care a lot more about Augur just on the raw factor than Shiryu. Like, Augur literally has a gun, and he can teleport. That is so normal in the grand scheme of like any One Piece character, just teleporting and a gun. But he's so cool. He's so.
And his introduction, where he shot like a seagull and it landed on the sun, or on the Mary at the time, and Chopper, like, I forget exactly what happened, but Chopper basically deduced, like, well, it had to have gotten shot got shot, like. And the Nami's like, well, we're not close enough for anybody to be shooting it, right? Like, we're really far away. Like, it probably just dropped dead to a disease. And Chopper's like, no. Like that introduction. And then we had Augur, like, sitting on a roof talking about, like, the fate or whatever of the world. And which that's his whole thing, is, like, the fate, right? Like, he's always bringing up fate. Like, even Blackbeard makes fun of him a little bit. Because, like, multiple times, I think in Impel Down in Jaya, Blackbeard says something, he's like, well, it's all about fate, right, Augur? Like, he always, like, because he knows Augur brings it up every sentence. Like, it's every other than this right here, other than like 1107, I'm pretty sure Augur has literally said it every time he's been on panel otherwise. Like Impel Down, definitely. Jaya, definitely. Time Skip, all sorts of stuff. So, by the way, I want to say real quick, shout out Double O Flevens for another $20 donation. Flevens,
yes, sir.
Bro, thank you so much for being so generous, both on my stream and Kev's stream. We really appreciate it. We're getting very close to $500 for Make-A-Wish, which is amazing. Thank you guys very much. And also, I see my guy Baby Mole in the chat, Baby Pluton. Thank you for sliding in, my man. It's been a minute. Now I see you are talking smack about my guy Usopp, which we'll have to talk about that later. But as long as you ain't talking smack about the mole, we're good.
Well, I'm about to gas
That's
up
right.
Usopp right now because another part of my favorite sections of 1107 was Usopp seeing the Giants for the first
My
time.
masters.
So awesome, and he knows that they're like they didn't come here to wage war. They came to help us. You know, he knows immediately. And of course, you know, again, as Lucci's biggest fan, you know, Lucci's here. He's doing his thing. And I really love the panel of the big chin guy. I just love him.
Yeah.
Also,
The neck
I
dude.
gotta
Not
say
even deep,
real quick,
not even deep, but just I love it.
major shout out to Double O Flevens yet again, donating
Oh,
$32 to get us over
And
the
that takes us
$500
nice.
threshold. My guy.
500
Let's
for
go.
We got 500 big
Go.
ones going right to Make-A-Wish. Thank you very much, Double O Flevens, and everyone else. I think it's awesome that we've had like a pretty steady stream of like $20 donations. A lot of people chipping in. That's super amazing. I appreciate you guys.
Sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, next chapter. As much as I could probably talk about 1107 for like a year straight, but the next one that we got to do is 1109, I believe it is 1109. Now I had this down at 19th. Kev, you had this at
So did
18th.
I.
You may have moved it.
No,
You
I
had
had
it
it
at
at 19
19th,
as well.
and Recon had it at 18th. So we are all
What?
we
are
are
right there.
all in line here, and we are all a bit lower than the community. I'm actually gonna pull. So this was the start of the Yamato cover story, and it had the best chapter of the Yamato cover story, which is Onigashima being by Old Wano.
Yeah.
Let's see. We got like what do we got?
Fascinating.
Right, and now we've just dipped away from it. So I'm like, all right, Oda, I know you're going back to it, or I'm praying that you're gonna get us back there somehow. But it looks like this is just like some of Vegapunk's. Oh no, this is the start of the summoning, I think, right? Yeah.
It's the start of the summoning, and it's when Luffy
pizzas.
And it's when Luffy balances like pizzas.
Yep, this is the pizza chapter. All right, so that's a great sequence right there. And then whenever Saturn comes back, he's like, "I'll perform the summoning," and then we see all the circles appear. Like you pretty much can't have a better cliffhanger for a chapter. Like it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty certain there was a break after this chapter as well.
There was.
There was a break.
There was.
The hype was unreal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was a pretty long one too. I think this was the. Was this a 3-week break? 3-week break?
I think so.
It might have been.
remember.
It might have been.
Yeah, it was great seeing a bunch of characters too. You know, you got Whoop Slap, you know, one of the top 100
Goat.
of the series.
Iceberg. I gotta bring this up. This iceberg moment. This is actually a really cool moment, and I actually wanted to do a short on it, and I actually had it recorded, but I just never posted it. But this sequence with Iceberg is super cool because we see that he's with his secretary Alice, and during the cover story, he has like secretary like interviews and stuff, and we learn that he hires this girl in the cover story, and I forget exactly what happens, but part of it shows that she's really smart. I can't remember exactly what exactly happened, but then you see here he like Iceberg's waking up in the middle of the night, and he's like, "Oh, hey Alice, prepare the message," and she's like, I already got it set up. Everyone's getting woken up. Everyone's prepared for this. Like she's like the best secretary in the world. You know what I mean? So for that to like come from the cover story, and then for us to see it it matters, right? Because she's like actually getting everyone prepared for a message because it's nighttime. Like they're all asleep at Water 7 because it's in different parts of the world, right? So for one thing, for Oda to have the world building like cognizance to make it nighttime in some places, I just love that for the consistency of it. But then also to make the nighttime place be the one where like you kind of need a really good secretary to get things ready so you're not late for the message because they only had 10 minutes to set up. I don't know. That panel, I was just like, this is Oda being a genius right here. Just that little tidbit. Yeah, overall, phenomenal. I almost think I should have had it higher than I did.
Yeah, a really fun chapter.
I had a 19.
Really good.
Interesting. But now, guys, we're on to the top 5. Finally, we've made it all the way here. And so the first one,
I think, real quick, I think something that could be fun to do is for each of us to do like our top 5 in sync. You know what I mean? Just in case, you know, some of them are different. I think that could be cool as well.
By the way, Kush Daddy, my guy, aka Kush Dade, with the $50 super chat, bro. Thank you so much. Long time supporter of the channel, long time goat. Appreciate you, Kush. Thank you, my guy. We are at 550, which is awesome. So the next, sorry, Kev. So you were saying, do our chapters like simultaneously, or what were you saying?
Yeah, we could do something like whatever our 5th is. We could say while we put the community's 5th as well, just so you know, we get some build up. You know.
Gotcha.
So like, do you want to say what your 5th was first? Is that what you're saying? Well, I mean, I guess we probably already went over it. I think, right?
We probably did.
Yeah.
We probably did.
Well, I guess.
Oh, yeah. How in the world did that? Okay, so for my.
Oh, you cut out for me a little bit.
Yeah, I know. Okay, should be good now.
I think you're good. Also, Double O Flevins with the $5 super chat to make it 555. Thank you, Double O Flevins.
Huge.
You're the man.
Nice.
Huge. I put 1130 at number 5, and I see it's 23 here. But Recon, what did you put as number 5?
My number 5 was chapter 115. Shout out to Tomorrow Black, baby.
Tomorrow Black. See?
I love Tomorrow Black, man. Just such a good gag character. And for me, number 5 was 1107, the one we just talked about. The
nice.
Just I love Van Auger, man. But
the
community, and I gotta say that this surprised me. The next 2 are very surprising for me. 1106 is the 5th chapter of the year. Now this doesn't necessarily surprise me that it's high, but I was surprised it was 5th. Now, I will say, I have this chapter all the way down at 26th, but the reason why, partially, is because I got spoiled on that reveal. And so, it was not a surprise to me that the Giants showed up, and that's a big factor, for sure. There was also something else in the chapter that I wanted to point out that I wasn't, like, a huge fan of. I'm going to try finding it real quick. I'm scrolling through. So we have the Buster Call start, the passive... Oh, this is where Vegapunk gets stabbed. Yeah, honestly, I feel like there wasn't a whole lot. Honestly, the biggest moment, I think, well, I guess you see the Iron Giant moving, which is kind of big. But this is where Bonnie realizes that Luffy is Nika.
Yes,
that's the big part of the chapter for me. That's like
that's why I put it as high as I did.
Same.
Yeah, I put it at number 14 specifically for that scene. That was such an emotional scene because that was the first time since the flashback that Bonnie saw Luffy, and it happened to be in Gear 5. So it was such a beautiful sequence, and the fact that he's in the same pose that he was in the initial reveal to us in 1044 was like a re-reveal of Gear 5, but to Bonnie, and it was just so beautiful.
Yeah. The way she reacted was like how we reacted in a way.
Yeah,
exactly.
She starts crying, and I gotta say, Oda's way to just throw in a little moment to drum up the emotions is he's just so good with it, where he has this little silhouette of Kuma doing the Nika dance and like the little music notes, and you see a little Bonnie silhouette with him right before she looks at him. It's like to remind us like hey, this Nika thing, like that's a big part of Bonnie's life. Like she's been looking for this guy forever. Like just that kind of thing to drum that up. I just that was definitely like I want to put this last just because of the spoiler, but this is enough to pull it out of the basement for me, because this is just such a good moment for sure.
Yeah, and this chapter was great. There's so many awesome moments. Like that was great. I loved the reveal of the Kuma, and then obviously the page turn. We would see Vegapunk dead. Obviously he didn't die for a while after this, but that was a crazy page turn. To see he's just impaled. Like there was no we didn't see it happen. It was just immediate. So that was really great. I don't know. And the end with the Giants was just super cool as well. Them calling the Sun God,
Yep.
crazy.
Yes.
That was so good.
Yeah, man. It's so crazy going back on all these moments of Egghead. It's just like, what an arc that was.
What an arc.
It's just
Exactly.
and it's going to be
An
like this for a lot of the final saga, guys. Like
Mhm.
like that little lull we had in early Elbaf where things slowed down and we're exploring the island. That's as slow as it's probably getting the rest of the story. Like honestly, that might be as slow as it gets. We're not going to have any more, at least in my opinion, we're not going to have any more, sumo wrestler matches like we had in Wano with what's his face or Hold'em. Like
Oh yeah, with the Hold'em, Red Hawk Hold'em. Oh man.
Yep. Well, all right. So we have 4 more chapters to rank, guys. So let's do what you were saying, Kev. Let's see what our fourth one was. For me, 1121. We talked about that earlier. Goat chapter, the One Piece.
Yeah, mine was also 1121 for number 4.
Yep, love that.
Yeah, mine was 1121.
So I'll just say my next two, because 1121 was my number 3, and my number 4 was 1133, which is the Robin Saul chapter.
Much deserved. Much deserved. And as for the community, you guys picked 1108 as the 4th ranked chapter of the year, and so this chapter has a massive moment, which is the final panel where Luffy grabs Kizaru and Saturn. Right,
Awesome.
That's like a top 5 panel of the year.
So
but I will say,
agreed.
That is that carries the chapter for me. Like
it does. I agree.
Like I guess you have Saturn going into like his like awakened state. It's not whatever, we don't have a name for it, but whatever you want to call it, right? Where he's like Sanji says he loses all pretense of looking human. That thing. So overall, I thought the chapter, this is like a pretty solid Egghead chapter. It's just carried by that amazing final panel. Like no doubt that's a top tier, but I guess we also get the Caribou stuff. We get a little bit of a continuation of that, which is maybe worth something. But I had this one all the way down. Well, it's not that far down, I guess. All the way at 16th. Kev, you had it at 22nd or maybe 24th, depending on your changes.
24, yep.
And King Recon 25. So we all had this a little bit lower. So, I think, like I said, I think that just goes to show, and not that there's anything wrong with it, but it's carried by that final panel, so people remember this chapter easily, really easily because of how badass that was. But if we're talking, compared to the rest of this peak, I don't know if this one is, quite as good, but definitely a solid one for sure. This is also where Vegapunk dies for good. Like he gets, the laser from Kizaru. And I guess this is also where he starts the real announcement, which is also worth something.
Speech.
But yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's like, there's just like not a whole lot to say about this one, I feel like, other than amazing panel.
Whoa. Big Dono from Double O Flevens with $112, getting us to $667.
Let's go.
Massive.
Double O Flevens, thank you so much, bro. You've been so generous. I mean, all of you guys have. What are we at now? 667?
Yep.
It was, wait, Double O Flevens, was that just to make sure that under no circumstances we get stuck at 666? Was that what that was for? To just ensure that can't happen? Because I'm pretty sure in your stream, Kev, we were at 666 for a second. And someone's like, all right, I'm going to donate $1.
Yeah, we got to get out of here.
Yeah, Kush Daddy, boo.
All right, let's donate -$1.
Yeah. Can I take $1 back? All right, so let's go on to our number 3. So my third ranked chapter was 1125. That's the Constitute's death, where Saturn dies. Kev, what did you have number 3? I think
I just said it was
1121, right?
1121. Yep.
And then King Recon, I believe 1130. I think you have
Loki chapter and Elbaf chapter.
Yeah, I love that you had that. I mean, I guess I had it 7th. We all had it.
Our same. We have like the same 3 recon. I think it's just like literally just switched like a weird.
Yeah, it switched around. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the community, their third ranked chapter of the year was chapter 1110. Planet
Amazing chapter.
Yeah,
amazing chapter.
This was my number 1 chapter of the year. Was this one?
Nice.
It's
well
just
deserved.
Yeah, it whenever I was thinking about it, I'm like, all right, like a lot of game breaking things happened, a lot of hype things that I enjoyed personally, but like seeing the Gorosei's forms after what 20 years of knowing that they exist.
Yes, sir.
Like that, it's just hard to even top that. I don't care what else happened. Like, there's a lot of other cool stuff in the chapter that we could point to when we see the Gorosei actually fight. We have Zoro use Spotted Leopard Hahava Hunt or whatever, which is like one of the coolest attack names for me. You know, like Nashjuro goes and freezes some of the pacifistas, so we know that he has ice powers. Like, all that stuff is really cool. But literally, just that full spread, the double page full spread, the first one since what, Dressrosa, right? Where Luffy's real small in front of these 5 just yokai monsters. That panel alone makes it number 1. Like, that's just, you know, it's everything you could have wanted out of the Gorosei's forms in my mind. Now, some people may have issues with a design here or there. You know, like I've talked about Topman a little bit, but generally it's just that panel. Just that's the panel of the year.
It's unreal.
Yeah,
it's
agreed.
This moment to me was like when I read One Piece, you know, the Gorosei, I always knew they were going to be a big deal. You know, like just from the vibes they gave off. They're the leaders of the world. Mm-hmm. They have to be strong. They have to be important. Never would I have imagined this being like what they look like ever. Like a skeleton horse monster, a creep bird, a spider, this dune worm creature. Like this is, and looking how gigantic they are in comparison to Luffy too. It's so amazing. It's so amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had this at number 6, and I should have. Man, it's just so tough because it's so good. And this was the hardest. This was the hardest one. Yeah, this was the hardest one to leave out of the top 5 because exactly what Dak was talking about with the weight of that panel. I was talking about the Nusjuro versus Zoro moment earlier and being how like that was a dream Final Saga moment. Like I told y'all so many times, I've dreamt of Luffy going up against the Gorosei so many times, and for me to get that panel in real time showed me like, yo, the series is coming to an end soon. Like this is crazy. Who would have ever thought the Gorosei would have popped all 5 of them, let alone just one?
Exactly.
All 5 popped up at one time on this island. It was crazy, man.
I remember when we would all be reading, you know, obviously we would hop at each other's streams and like see reactions or whatever. The fact none of us thought that they would all be here at once. None of us. Because it was always like, oh, Saturn's the furthest away from the Earth. So Saturn's the weakest of the Gorosei. So when the others show up later down the line, like on Elbaf or something, that was always the thought. And then 1109 happens and we're just like, what's happening?
Yep.
What's happening right now? And then they're all here. Like, it was chilling.
Agreed.
It was chilling.
Yeah.
It also recontextualizes 1085, where Sabo went up against all of this, right? Like he went up against all of this, and it showcases that Emu was still above all of them, because Emu was the only one that did the deciding blow to Cobra and the deciding blow to Sabo, even though Sabo didn't die. So like they couldn't get a hit. All 5 of them could not get a hit on Sabo, and yet Emu did on both of them. So it's like, even though we're hyping up the Gorosei here, still remember that Emu's on top and is the top dog, and it's like, this is so good.
Yep.
So weak.
Yeah, and I mean, like Sabo probably would have even gotten cooked if Cobra, you know, didn't play defense. You know.
Yeah.
Like he set his feet and was just like, you know, I'm boxing out. Like, Sabo, go get the rebound, get out of here. You know, like, go on the fast break.
That's right.
But yeah, this and the one thing that I thought about this chapter that I hope we find out eventually is like this panel where we see Luffy in front of all the Gorosei. I hope that we get like a Joy Boy flashback where we see like a parallel of this, where like Joy Boy is in front of all of them, and he probably cooks them all. You know, I mean that's probably what would happen. But I can just see Joy Boy being faced with the same thing in the Void Century and being like, you know, well, I'm cooked. But I mean, he probably won, but it probably led to their loss in some way or something. But yeah,
you know.
I mean, his Conqueror's Hockey took him out all of his other forms, so he probably is cooking them.
Yep.
When I remember about this, that not this before this chapter, when we were in New York last year, you know, a very infamous video is floating around on Twitter of us having a conversation, which is Shanks and the Gorosei. Shanks and the Gorosei.
Shanks versus all 5 Gorosei.
This is pre these forms. These forms did not exist at that time.
Yep.
But the fact that like somehow I still believe Shanks walks out of that room with the Gorosei.
Oh, for sure.
Well, after
me too.
Honestly, after seeing them fail, honestly, I agree. Like I didn't think so originally, but after this arc, I'm like, I mean, not that they're weak, but I'm like, all right, like if we escaped all 5, yeah, Shanks can escape. You know, like he's getting out of the room. I don't know if he'll kill all 5, sure. But you know, but he's definitely getting out of there. All right, so we have 2 more chapters left. And honestly, yeah, I was gonna say even before the stream started, you could have probably guessed that these 2 were going to be way up there. But I guess first let's go over our own, you know, number 2s, and we actually all had the same number 2, so it's gonna be very quick, which was 1122. We all had that in number 2, so we were all locked in. But the community, on the other hand, they picked 1103. So this is the one where Kuma comes in and saves Bonnie. This was also the first chapter of 2024, so Oda started off hot. It's called I'm Sorry, Father. And this is also where we get a lot of backdrop for Bonnie, like with Guinea and like the experiments that Saturn did and all that kind of stuff. We also get all that information here. And, you know, obviously it ends with Kuma coming in and tanking the attack, which, you know, I think a big factor with this chapter is it's piggybacking off of the amazing Kuma flashback, right? Because 1102 was my favorite chapter of 2023. So this directly followed that. And so we're all in our feels about, you know, Kuma and all this stuff. You know, we see Saturn threatening her and all that. And it's for Kuma to finally get there, like after the culmination of the flashback. And then Kuma comes to finally save her and they reunite, especially after we saw, I think it was 1102 or 1101, where, like, I think it's 1102, where Bonnie is going around trying to find Kuma, but he's purposefully avoiding her because they're not allowed to meet. And then for it to finally get to this point where they get to meet and he's saving her, and as we see next chapter, he's doing it like autonomously, right? Like he doesn't even have like a will anymore or like a mind or whatever. I had this at number 11, which I know sounds bad, but it's just there's just too many peak chapters. But I have no issue with people having this number 1 or number 2. I get it for sure. And you guys had it top 10 also, it looks like.
No, I had it at 21.
I was looking at the wrong one. The next one you have top 10. Yeah. But this is 21. So any thoughts on that, Recon?
I love this chapter. I just, you know, once again, a lot of greatness surrounding it. But similar to you, like starting off hot. 1102 was also my favorite chapter of last year. So it's like, well, 1102, my favorite of last year. 1104 is really high this year. So I was like, well, 1103, I'm sorry. You got to go a little lower. Yep. That's about it.
No, I get it. It's, you know, you don't want to. You already gave Kuma so much credit. Like when you have 1102 as the top chapter, it's kind of like, all right, am I just biased if I put this at number 1 also?
Exactly.
It's like I already gave him enough love, so I get it. Kev, any thoughts?
Yeah, I had this at 9 and then the next one at 8. So this is obviously like I love this stuff. I was eating this up. So good. Kuma, you know, he was one of my top 10 characters before this arc. Now, I don't even know where he is at this point, but he's still very high up there, you know. And so all this stuff, it was super emotional, really, really powerful. I love, like I mentioned earlier, with Bonnie like losing all her faith and eventually being able to get it back through, you know, the GOAT, Monkey D. Luffy. And then seeing Kuma come in just literally at like almost the perfect time was so amazing. Like stuff like this is why I'm very happy the anime's on hiatus right now, because I know they're just going to cook up some movie level episodes like week after week after week. Like I literally can't even imagine how good this arc is going to be. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, if there was a time for them to take a break and prep to make sure the anime is popping off on all cylinders, it was now. You know, like between the Kuma flashback and, I mean, I can only imagine that like animating the Gorosei's forms is going to be a tall task, just because there's so much detail and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So if there was a time for them to take a break, they picked the right time in my mind. I mean, it definitely sucks to not have the anime, but they're doing it for the proper reason. You know, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Gross Stonks, you said Kizaru versus Luffy is going to be peak. I'm actually very much looking forward to that because I did not enjoy Luffy versus Kizaru in the manga, or at least the chapter that was focused on it, because like it was barely focused on it. Like they didn't have like a real serious 1v1. It was like kind of like a little bit of like a couple, you know, punches here or there is like what it felt like. But the anime is going to do it justice. That's one thing that's going to get elevated from the anime.
It look amazing.
By the way, Double O Flevens, my guy. Thank you, bro. A 110 donation. We're now to 777.
Wow.
Double O Flevens, man.
Hit the jackpot.
Man.
Wow.
Thank you, bro. Thank you for supporting Make-A-Wish. Seriously, that is amazing. It's all for the kids, man. That's what it's about. I feel like everyone.
Yes, sir.
I feel like every charity stream I go to on YouTube is something, you know, kid related, which is how it should be. I feel like, you know, kids who need it.
Agreed.
I mean, that's it. And honestly, not to make it too deep, but carrying it over to One Piece, especially Bonnie, you know, who's a kid, it's kind of like, you know, it's extremely important to, you know, get them started right.
The next generation.
Yep.
It's all about the next generation.
Yeah, exactly. So I appreciate you, Double O Flevens, for real. But all right, guys, we are on to our last chapter, and I mean, I'm not gonna mince any words because you guys already know what it is by process of elimination. It is chapter 1104. Just to reiterate, my number one of the year was chapter, what was it, 1110, the Planet Fall, and number one for Kev. What'd you have number one, Kev?
1132, which is when Usopp and Luffy see Elbaf for the first time.
Wow. Okay.
Which the community really did not mess with, I guess. I don't know why in the world it's that low.
29.
Insane.
And then, Coach, you had 1133, which we talked about earlier.
Robin Saul.
Yep.
Excellent choice. But as for the community, I can get why you have 1104 as the number one.
Oh, it's definitely
amazing.
Because building off of 1103, like it's kind of like if you liked 1103, then you're gonna love 1104 because you get the delivery, right? And for me, something that hit really hard in this chapter, other than the art style, like the Kuma punch, like before it actually lands, like that's an iconic panel, like the way he looks.
Yeah, it is.
But also but also how it starts, where like he's about to punch Saturn, and then it goes to like a little flashback, and it like has him where Saturn's like, "You're the Buccaneer brat. You can either live as a slave or die. Nothing else can be tolerated. Mommy has passed away. She's in a better place now." Like he's going through all the sadness he had, so we just know like the weight behind that punch. And then I gotta say, the art on the actual punch, where like Saturn's face gets crushed in. You know, like the detail, like Oda knew that we were ready for the deliverance here. You know what I mean? Like we needed it. So this is like all the anger or emotions we felt from the Kuma flashback was like unleashed here in this chapter. And then also you have the Vegapunk mention about like the special trait of the Buccaneers, and you see Kuma holding Bonnie and then even the sequence where Saturn like comes back and he's all banged up, but he heals, and just that whole thing, man. Oda was cooking to an insane degree. And then lastly, one of my actual favorite lines from the whole arc, I mean, probably not number one, but one that I reference all the time, is Kizaru at the very end. "I should have brought a darker pair of shades." That one,
yeah, man,
love that line. That's just
great line,
just so good. So. Guys, I get why you have this number one, even if I don't. I understand completely.
Yep. Oh, me too. Yeah. Me too. You know,
where did you put it?
I had it at number 8, so I think you and I had the same.
So did I. Oh my
god! And I had it number 10, so we were all very close.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, really close.
Yeah.
If I could just cook on the chapter, because I do have to get going, because I have to work in the morning.
Oh yeah,
so
absolutely.
I appreciate you both. I appreciate you, Dak, for having me here, and I appreciate Kev always for the conversation. This chapter was was absolutely beautiful, bro. Like we were talking about earlier, Dak. Both of us had 1102 #1 last year, and like to come off of that and see the payoff to the Saturn, the Kuma flashback that from 1095 to 1102 was just so. You felt the emotional weight, and I remember Kevin and I talked about this multiple times throughout the years. But for us to have Kuma so high on our favorite characters list, and then without the flashback, and now with the flashback, and then to see the payoff of that flashback coming into fruition here with 1104 was just, it was so beautiful. I already know when the anime gets to this sequence, it's going to be extremely memorable, iconic, as it should be. They got to give it the Luffy Celestial Dragon Punch treatment, because that's what it deserves. And it has just as much weight to it as that punch. And man, like we saw Kuma come back from literally the depths, and this dude delivered one of the most iconic punches to an individual who was finally knocked off his perch, and then of course finished off by Imu. And it was just so satisfying. And of course there's other stuff that happens in the chapter, but that was like the main takeaway, man. And the presentation, like you were talking about, Dak, was so on point for this chapter, and just loved it, man. What a phenomenal. That's a great #1, one that represents the year well. And so I still don't agree with the 1121, 1122 stuff, but it is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. This was the this was the list. But yeah, man, I appreciate y'all for having me. Thank you so much. And all love to the chat. Y'all were cooking too.
Oh yeah, hey Coach, thank you for taking the time, bro. Thank you for your thoughts. It was awesome to have you, and also everyone. Remember, like I said at the beginning, you weren't here, King Recon, but I got the idea for the stream from King Recon, because he also did the community poll for an ARC ranking stream, which he did before, and I love that concept, so that's why we kind of merged for this. But King Recon, if you ever do anything like this, make sure you hit me up, and we'll definitely, run it back for sure.
Yeah, man, I'll definitely hit up both of y'all, because I love always hearing y'all's takes, and as well as the list, getting the list together. It's always good seeing both of y'all's lists. I really want to do something for characters. I know we talked about that before, Dak, about doing something for characters.
Yes.
So we got to do that in the future at some point.
Yeah, it'll never end, man. It'll be like,
well, yeah, you'd have to do it in I don't even know how, you'd have to organize it a certain way. You couldn't do a ranking because there's 1,400, and then you could do like moments or emotional moments. There's a lot of things you could do, but you let me know, King Recon. I'm happy to help or whatever in any way I can, for sure. And thank you for being here.
Yes, sir.
All right, man. You have a great night.
Have a good night, and yes, sir. Hey, shout out to your Cavs, brother. Taking on the Warriors right now.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're not playing too well. I mean, we're winning. Last I looked, but we weren't doing too well. We only scored 46 at halftime.
Yep.
Oh, we're up 17 now, so never mind.
Yep. Okay. Oh, no.
We're cooking. Never mind.
That's a big shift.
The Warriors have 41 points. 9 minutes left in the third. They are not scoring.
Oh yeah. Oh, they're getting cooked. They're getting cooked. Yeah. All love to you, Dak. Kev, man, all love to you too, brother. I will see y'all next time.
All right. Have a good night, man. Appreciate you.
Recon.
But all right, guys. Well, we finished all the rankings. We've made it. We made it successfully to the end. Now I will say earlier. Oh, the Discord thing's a little bit messed up. But so earlier I did mention that we were gonna do that's not right. Whatever. I did mention earlier that we were gonna do a bingo card together at the end.
Mm-hmm.
But guys, I'm not gonna lie. This went a little bit longer than I expected, which is good because the discussion was amazing. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do the bingo card on another stream. I'm just going to do another stream because we have, I don't think we get another chapter till like January 12th or something like that, right? I think that's like the next official, because the official for 1135 comes out this weekend, right? This coming weekend, but then we don't have another one, for another week. So we have a little bit of time. So because it went so late, we'll do the bingo card another time. But yeah, guys, I just want to say thank you guys so much for being here. Seriously, thank you for participating in the poll. And the biggest thing, thank you guys for donating for Make-A-Wish. Seriously, we raised $797 for Make-A-Wish, which is amazing. Yeah. This is my first time ever doing a charity stream, so we're definitely going to do this again next year. We'll probably do chapters of the year every year and do a charity stream for Make-A-Wish. Or Make-A-Wish also has subsidiaries like International Make-A-Wish, which I can also do. So we got some options, but I just want to say thank you guys so much for being here and donating. It really means a lot. Kev, you got anything to tell the people?
Yeah, well, obviously, like Dak was saying, these charity streams are a great moment because, One Piece you know what? You can't say One Piece without peace, and that's what brings the world together. The world needs a lot more peace, and doing events like these, help bring that peace to people who need it. Shout outs real quick, Leo Dog with the $20 dono, Flevitz once again with the $3, so we just hit 800 on the dot.
It's amazing,
which is pretty huge. First charity stream, triple digits. You know what I'm saying? That's big.
Yeah, major shout out Leo Dog or Leo Dog also potentially, depending on how you want to pronounce it.
Could be Leo.
Yeah,
exactly.
You never know. But appreciate you, and Flevins, big time appreciate you too. I'm glad you got to a nice even 800. That seriously means a lot. Thank you. I mean, this is why the One Piece community is goated, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, not that we're the only ones who do fundraisers, but I just think the fact that, I mean, we meet, like, I see so many familiar faces in the chat. You know what I mean? Like every single week. Yeah. There's a lot of people I've become friends with because of One Piece. I mean, Kev, you, Kev lives, well, I guess one state over, but you live in the very far part of the state, so it feels like two.
Yeah.
But we've met several times. I've gone to Anime NYC. I see you guys in the chat. I honestly technically work with some of you at this point because I have like a little bit of a sake team now helping me with videos. And
sake squad.
Oh yeah, I got the sake squad. I got the best squad on YouTube, bro. I don't want to hear any. I'll defend that to the end. But also shout out Anonymous.
The sake squad. Anonymous $20.
Anonymous, appreciate you, Anonymous, for the 20. Y'all are awesome, seriously. Can't thank you guys enough. Kev, thank you for your time too.
No problem at all. I mean, it's a pleasure, talking to you, my guy. We talk all the time anyway. But being able to talk for a good cause, now that's what's up. That's what's up.
Yep. It's all for the kids.
Exactly. Because I love what you mentioned earlier about Bonnie, but it's not just Bonnie. We talked about Isa. Talked about even Alish. We talked about all these characters.
Momonosuke,
one of the goats. Momonosuke, Tama, Toko.
Dude, think about Luffy, like even telling. Remember when he told Momo, like, I'm not gonna help you, but like then he like told him like you can't just be a figurehead, like you got to be a leader, and like I mean, it's just that One Piece is all about that, helping the next generation in a bunch of different ways, or even the Kobe moment in chapter 2, where he's I mean, Kobe was technically like 16 there, but regardless, still, or yes, I think he was 16 or 15, one of the two, I can't remember.
And I mean, think about it like this. Now we're getting a bit heavy here, not heady. Think about it like even some people around. I'm a relatively younger guy in the community, but still, like people like Randy, he's got kids. Par's got kids. We're getting to that point where the next gen, they're going to be raised on peak fiction, of course. But you know what I'm saying? It's just how the world works. I feel like it's a great thing to come together and just help things along the way. That's something I do for so long, and I'm glad we're able to have the platform to do it. Especially in the holidays.
Yeah, and like I was saying, it's crazy with the way One Piece is. We get to meet every week and talk about this, and like we're gonna be doing that for years. You know what I mean? Like I'm hopefully, I'm gonna be seeing a lot of the same names all the way to the end, and that's kind of like the beauty of it is, we're all in it for the story, like for the end of it, and and to go back to the chapter rankings, that's why 1121 needed to be much higher. but regardless, but no, guys, this was great. It was awesome getting to see your guys' rankings for the year, and no, this was a lot of fun. I can't thank you guys enough.
Yeah, absolutely amazing stuff.
But without further ado, we're gonna head out. I just want to say thank you one more time, and we will be doing a bingo card stream sometime soon, so make sure you come check that out. And I also dropped a video earlier today. If you haven't checked that out, make sure you read chapter 1135 first. I did put a spoiler warning in the video just in case, or like put the text in this. But yeah, guys, I appreciate you guys for all the support. Seriously, it's awesome to do this, as a job, which is amazing.
Yeah, the Sake Squad.
Absolutely. But all right, guys.
And I will say real quick, 2024 was a great year for One Piece, but now we're on Elbaf. We're on Elbaf. Something I couldn't even imagine so many years later. My favorite characters, Luffy and Usopp, they're gonna have a masterclass.
Yep.
Rob basically did already have a masterclass moment in Elbaf. Like, there's so much excitement ahead, except if it's abs. There's so much excitement ahead.
That it's just then we'll see. It might be sadness. It could.
Then it's Elbaf.
Hey, Ocean Flan, you said Louis Arnott lives. Totally agree. I also
Louis Arnott is actually the bear in the silhouette, not the man in the silhouette.
Or maybe the bear is just his outfit and he's just like leaving it there. He's not in it, and the silhouette is him, but then he gets in the bear outfit or something.
Ooh,
you know
okay,
I mean? Something like
okay.
that.
Disguising as a giant thing.
Yeah,
that's fun.
I kind of like that.
That's like some Gulliver's Travels stuff.
True.
Like Rosa, but like inverse.
True.
That's fun.
True.
No, it's gonna be an amazing time. Elbaf 2025. We probably will be here the entire year, like minimum for sure. We might even be here until 2026 or 2027.
I'm thinking.
I feel like we're gonna be here a long time.
I hope so. I sure hope.
Yeah, Peak Fiction. It's just gonna keep coming. So.
And like 3-Day just said, Happy New Year, everyone. I know we're like 24 hours from the new year, so I just want to say that in advance in case I don't talk to you guys before then. But without further ado, guys, we're gonna sign off. So thank you guys one last time, and hope to see